I really like Halo. I can't tell you how many years I've spent playing these games. I've been there since the first one came out and I'd never stopped playing them. As a result, I have made a lot of Halo videos. So this video is going to be a combination of every first-person shooter Halo game. Basically every mainline Halo game plus a bonus at the end. Only official games, this won't include any mods or this video would get really out of hand. But I've been making videos for a long time now, so things have definitely changed. You're gonna see me going from looking like this to looking like this or this. Just remember some of these videos are old and be easy on me. If you're wondering why I'm posting this video, it's because I already posted a video on Wednesday, that's when an embargo lifted for Mad Jack, but I like to post on weekends as well, so let's see how this does. And yes, I have swapped over to full-on VTubing nowadays, but I do like how I look. I've been making YouTube videos for 17 years. I'm definitely not afraid to show my real face off. I mean, if you wanted to see it, you could just look back like 6 months. I just find the dragon thing fun, and people seem to enjoy it for the most part. With that all said, I will play these analysis videos in order from which I made them, starting with Halo Reach. Hey everybody, Jarek here. Halo Reach is a very divisive game. You either love it or you hate it. Back in the day, I was one of those people that really didn't like it, but I was still excited for the release of Halo Reach on PC for a few reasons. The first one is that this is the first time we've had a real Halo game launching on PC that isn't a weird port from Gearbox or Halo 2 Vista. The second one is that I hadn't played the game for 6 or 7 years, and even though I really didn't like it when it first came out, maybe something had changed. Let's give it another shot and let's see how this goes. Before I talk about how good Halo Reach is, I probably should get the elephant out of the room. How is the PC port? I can understand some of you might not be interested in this, so you can just skip forward past this part if you aren't. But given that about every 5 minutes on my stream someone came in to ask how good the PC port was, a lot of people apparently want to know. Let's start with the good. This game looks leagues better than the original 360 version. The 360 was pretty outdated by 2010 when Reach came out. It ran at a low resolution and just upscaled it and ran at 30 FPS. This made for a somewhat noisy game that by 360 standards looked fine and actually pretty good, but by everything else, really could have been improved. What I'm saying is that Reach was stuck on an outdated platform that doesn't look good in 2019. The PC release does a lot of things to make this game look a lot better. For starters, as I said, you can run at whatever native resolution you want. If you have a 4K monitor, feel free to play this game in 4K. I was playing it in 1440 and it looked very clear. They increased the draw distance and allowed models in the distance to properly render instead of being lower poly until you got closer to them. There's an FOV slider now, thank God. You can increase it from the default 78 that it originally had. I kept it at about 95. This does have some downsides. You can see your left shoulder with some of the one-handed weapons like say the pistol and the needler, but for the most part it worked perfectly fine. But really there is one upgrade they did that makes this game look so much clearer than the original 360 version, and that is that they got rid of temporal anti-aliasing. Thank goodness. Temporal anti-aliasing added a ridiculous amount of ghosting. It was incredibly apparent and you couldn't unsee it. The picture was very noisy because of it. Removing this makes the entire game look a lot better. It's almost like that feeling of when you play an old game in an emulator and you crank all the settings up, it just looks so clear compared to what you saw before. The port is not perfect though. If you go to the graphics settings, there's just not a whole lot. You can't tune this to whatever you want. Practically the only settings you have are an FOV slider and enhanced graphics. I don't know what this means, it just says enhanced. Thankfully this is an old game, so any of you should be able to run it, but if it wasn't old this would be a really big problem. Regardless, there should be something here that you can change, but there really isn't. The next really big problem the port has is that it just doesn't feel good to control. It almost feels like there's input delay, and the mouse aim I could never get used to. No matter what sensitivity I put it to, it didn't feel natural. Something about it just feels off. This is incredibly frustrating when you're trying to play the multiplayer. Speaking of frustrating while you're playing the multiplayer, you can't crouch while you're moving. No, I'm not kidding you. If you were pressing a movement key and you press crouch, nothing happens. You have to completely let go of the movement keys, crouch, then walk. And that's absolutely absurd when you're trying to outstrafe and outshoot someone and you can't crouch mid-strafe. Seriously, that's something they need to fix really quick. The last problem this port has is that the audio mixing feels really off. The music is too loud and the gunshots are too quiet. Things stand out where they shouldn't, and other things sound really muffled. They really need to work with it. And this is something they already know. They acknowledged this back in October, and it's still not been fixed. I would love to play some clips for you here just so you get an idea of the audio mixing, but a lot of the audio mixing has to do with the music, and I can't play the music due to copyright stuff, which is unfortunate, especially with how good the music is. I'll talk about that later. Just take my word for it, the audio mixing in this sounds really, really bad. So what's the final verdict of the port? It looks a lot clearer, which is a huge improvement, but there are a lot of downsides that need to be worked out. This is very clearly a work in progress, and if you're looking for the definitive version of Reach, it's not this quite yet. They really need to work some things out before it can be that. I'd still prefer to play it over the original 360 version, but there's also the version that was added in the Master Chief Collection on the Xbox One, so right now that version is looking better than the PC version. But okay, with that out of the way, let's go on to the actual game. For those unaware, Halo Reach was a prequel to the original Halo Combat Evolved. Reach is an interesting situation. It's a prequel to Halo Combat Evolved, and we all already knew what was going to happen. It's the fall of Reach. The entire planet is going down, and at the end it's going to be the start of Master Chief's journey. You play as Six, the newest member of a Spartan team. This Spartan team is essentially tasked with the impossible of saving Reach. It's a losing battle, and you all know what's happening here. These Spartans are going to die one by one. But my biggest problem with the plot was how everything went down. It seemed like everyone was having a who can have the most noble death competition. Most of the deaths seemed completely avoidable or completely pointless. George's death is a great example. He sacrifices his life to blow up a Covenant carrier, but mere moments after this, an entire Covenant fleet warps in. The only example of a good death that actually could tug on your emotions in Halo Reach was Kat's death, because it came so suddenly. A nearby Covenant blast demolishes the city your Spartan team is in, dropping all of your shields in the process. While your Spartan team is going to take cover and refuge from the blast, Kat suddenly gets domed in the head. It isn't Kat accepting her death for the better of Reach suddenly without no remorse or caring. No, you just die. She had no say in the matter, it happened. The way they portray this death is fantastic, because this was the turning point of the story. Up until this point, you had been fighting the Covenant. This is when everyone had realized it's all futile, you're fighting a losing war. You've already lost. But everyone else just sort of embraced death in a way that didn't make me feel emotionally attached for them or anything really. It just kind of felt cheap. It didn't necessarily feel awful, it just felt like they could have done so much more with the story. This is the fall of Reach. There is so much you can do here. The only other death that I could kind of give a pass to was Noble Six, just because it was neat to fight off all the Covenant and last as long as you can. It was still an inevitable death that you could have avoided by jumping on the ship with keys and just flying out of there, but no, you gotta die. It's actually kind of difficult talking about the story because I feel like there really isn't a whole lot to talk about. Everything has been established, we know what's going to happen. The whole point of the story is literally just to get Cortana to Master Chief, and that's it. And now we move on to the graphics. I kind of talked about it earlier with the PC port, but I feel like there's a lot more I can say here. Graphically, it is a little outdated since it's stuck on the 360, even back in 2010. I mean, Crysis came out a few years earlier and Battlefield 3 came out 1 year later. But what Reach lacks in technological advancement, it more than makes up with it in presentation. I may have said a lot of bad things about Reach over the last 9 years, but I never said anything bad about its art. The Spartan designs are the best we've seen in the entire franchise. The skyboxes are downright beautiful. The war-torn mountains off in the distance are a pleasure to look at. The music composed by Marty O'Donnell blending into the world is the best choice you could have. Even though I didn't like Reach back in the day, when this music plays, I still have that soft feeling for it. Reach is an extremely polished game, and I really have nothing but good things to say in this regard. Bungie clearly knew what they were doing with the 360 by this time. They had been working with it for years, and they had been working on the Halo franchise for a decade. Anything negative I could say about this game graphically is purely because it was stuck on an outdated console and nothing more. Gameplay is where I have really mixed opinions. Halo Reach doesn't have any awful levels like the previous games, say the Library in Halo CE or Cortana in Halo 3, but it also doesn't really have any fantastic levels like, say, the Silent Cartographer. My experience with Halo Reach is that it's consistently good at best and really boring at worst. It does feel like the game just sort of drags on and on at times without anything really keeping my attention. And the few times it tries to mix things up, say flying in space in a ship, I didn't care about. I don't really play Halo to fly around in a ship. I know a lot of people really like this section. but I don't care about this at all. Thankfully, this section is short and not the most difficult thing in the world, so it's not really that big of a problem, and if you like it, it's there for you. Aside from that, I just kind of have a really hard time remembering things about Halo Reach. It all just sort of blends together into a decent game that never really grabbed my attention. I just played this game yesterday, and I've already forgotten most of it. I don't have any extremely negative feelings towards the campaign, which is nice, but I don't have any extremely positive feelings either. I really only remember a few sections. The first part is right after George dies and you're all on your own, which is pretty neat, and the second section is right at the very end where you have to hold off as long as possible, which was pretty awesome. But that second thing is a very fleeting small moment, and the first thing is just a level that's good, not necessarily great. To me, the campaign was made by a developer that was very clearly extremely experienced, but seemed to lack that sort of inspiration. Halo 3 has a certain feel to it, and you can understand the developers really poured their heart into it. Halo Reach feels like something they had to do out of obligation. And they're experienced enough to make a good game in this way, but it just sort of lacks that charm that the previous Halo games had. I'm being really negative here, but Reach just doesn't really appeal to me gameplay-wise. The only real positive thing I can say about Reach's campaign is that thankfully it has co-op, and that's something I really miss out of shooters nowadays.
This is the most off-road truck you'll ever see. I'm gonna die from the scarab though, I guarantee it. Oh! Oh my god!
Oh my god, Jarek!
It's okay, everything is fine. Oh, I almost just got stuck. I am out. Let's see if I can flip. Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Oh wow. Got launched against the wall.
How are you alive? I lost my weapons, that was worth it.
We don't really see 4-player co-op shooters anymore. It's really hard to find just a casual single-player campaign I can play with my friends. They almost don't exist. I feel like Reach was right at the end of that era full of casual co-op single-player games you could enjoy with your friends time and time again. I really wish they'd come back. Nowadays all we really have is Borderlands, but that's less so just raw first-person shooter and part RPG. I mean, it kinda counts, but not exactly what I'm looking for. From here we go on to the multiplayer, and oh boy, this is a doozy. People either love Halo Reach's multiplayer or they hate it. There doesn't ever seem to be any in between. I was on the part that hated it, personally. I loved Halo 1, 2, and 3, and thought the Halo Reach's multiplayer felt like garbage compared to the previous games. But take my word for it, I really came back and gave Halo Reach another try. I hadn't played it in a good 6 years, so I wanted to come into it with a fresh mind, and I really wanted to like it, just like back in the day. I still spent thousands of hours playing Halo Reach when it came out. I really wanted to like the game, and that's why I can point out every mechanic that drives me crazy. I have the experience to say why I don't like the game. Later on in Reach's lifetime, I think I spent most of my time playing the Anniversary playlist, which had a 3-shot pistol, and that alone made the game feel so much better. But after coming back into Reach and giving it an honest try, and after playing it for about 12 hours the last few days, I really only confirmed what I already knew. I hate this game's multiplayer so much. It's incredibly frustrating because underneath all the dumb mechanics they added in, there's a legit good Halo game. But it's just ruined by everything else they piled on top of it. Let's start with the obvious one, Bloom. Bloom does not need to exist in any way whatsoever. People that defend Bloom generally say, oh, you just gotta pace your shots. The problem is, even when you are pacing your shots, you still end up missing. This is true RNG.
This game sucks! This game fucking sucks!
That should never happen. It's incredibly frustrating to have your crosshair right over a person and have your shot miss. If I'm aiming perfectly, my shot should hit. This is made even worse by the fact that your utility weapon is hit the hardest with Bloom. The DMR feels terrible. If your base gunplay doesn't feel good in a game based around gunplay, you're not going to like the game. The next thing they added in were loadouts and armor abilities. Everyone knows how much people hate armor lock, but it goes a lot deeper than that. This adds in more RNG. You cannot predict what people have. You drop someone to one shot and you know it's safe to come around that corner and clean up, but you don't know if they have armor lock, you don't know if they have sprint, you have no idea what they have. So running that corner is incredibly risky. What if they just armor lock EMP punch you and now you're dead? What if they have a jetpack and just jetpacked away to another level that you have no access to? In previous Halo games, you could predict everything happening around you. You could know whether someone picked up the power weapon and know whether it was safe to clean up that kill. You knew what was going on in the game at any given moment. If you had experience, you could tell what was going to happen. And since armor abilities are such a pivotal part of the gameplay, the maps have to be designed around them, resulting in some of the worst Halo maps we've ever seen at that point. I mean, how many of you ever want to play on Sword Base again? Or the incredibly open circle map of Powerhouse? What is this thing? And then we get into the fact that bleed through exists, basically damage can be going through shields, which is completely asinine. If I have that much of my shield left, I should still be alive if you shoot me. See, in previous Halo games, you could die from a burst of the BR because the first 2 shots would drop your shield and the last shot would be a headshot. In this game, part of your shield can just go away and you can die with that last shot anyway. This makes it feel incredibly inconsistent about whether you should have died or not. You never really know. It's so hard to get a feeling for this, and it feels excessively frustrating. And speaking of frustrating, something that pertains to this specific version of Halo Reach on PC, controllers actually end up being better than mouse and keyboard. What a crazy world, I never thought I would say that. Controllers have an astronomical amount of aim assist and bullet magnetism. Keyboard and mice have none. Obviously they shouldn't have aim assist, but having no bullet magnetism leads to shit like this.
Alright, pop out please. I'm gonna get shot by somebody else doing this.
Revenge.
Or I can just turn and kill.
What the fuck?
Do you guys see that shot?
That same shot with a controller would have hit. I'm not saying have no aim assist for controllers, they definitely need it, but perhaps tone the aim assist down and give bullet magnetism to mice and keyboard. The game was already frustrating enough, but that extra thing made me just say, alright, I'm just done. I'm done with playing Halo Reach's multiplayer. I'm going to wait for Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, and Halo 3 to come out. Those are the games I really want. I'm super excited we're getting Halo on PC, but I still have the same opinion I had when Reach came out. Fuck this game. I hate its multiplayer so goddamn much. You might be telling me, well, just play the hardcore mode, dummy, it was made exactly for you. And that's the only mode I can play that makes me not want to kill myself. That's the MLG variant, with no bloom, and everything I've complained about is just sort of gone. But it also feels really boring and spiritless. The game was not made for this. At this point, the only feeling I have when I'm playing this game mode is, why am I not just playing Halo 2 or 3? To be frank, Halo Reach was not made for veterans of Halo 2 and 3 seasons. They weren't made for players like me. And Bungie has never catered to my style of player. This is why the competitive scene died with Halo Reach. People love to blame 343 for this for some odd reason, but no, the competitive scene died with Reach, not Halo 4. It only came back with Halo 5. As a whole, players just didn't seem to like Reach more than 3 either. Concurrent player base of Halo Reach dropped below Halo 3 in just 6 months. It still sold extremely well, but it was obvious that it just wasn't the follow-up that everyone wanted from Halo 3. There are diehard fans of it, but there's also people like me that were greatly disappointed by it. But just so I don't make this video entirely negative, what I will say is that I absolutely loved Forge, and that seems to be the general consensus. Halo Reach Forward was amazing. Unfortunately, the PC version doesn't have Forge right now, so I can't say much about it on PC. It's supposed to be coming to this version next year. I don't exactly know when, they just said sometime in 2020, so we'll see how good that will be when it comes out. But I did spend a lot of time. Forge World is an amazing map with so many things you can do on it. Whether it's playing custom games or racetracks or just exploring Forge World on its own, Forge is an amazing experience in Reach. I know a lot of people have this same sort of fondness for Firefight, but personally myself I found Firefight to be kind of boring. I was really spoiled by Killing Floor 1 and I just wanted to play Killing Floor 1 instead if it was going to be wave based. But yeah, that should be everything I've wanted to say about Reach. I guarantee you I am missing things. I have a lot of pent-up frustration with this game, if you can't tell. I don't like this game. I've never liked this game. I'm excited it's on PC. That's really nice, but I really just want Halo Combat Evolved. I'm sure I've ruffled some feathers, and I'm sure some people really hate me right now and have left angry comments down below. I apologize, but Reach is just not my game. Halo games typically stick to the platform they were released on. Combat Evolved is the one exception to this. It went from being on the original Xbox to being ported to PC, to that PC version being ported to the 360 with some additions due to the anniversary release, that anniversary edition being ported to the MCC version on Xbox One, and now that Xbox One version being ported to PC. If you've been watching my channel for a long time, you know that I love Halo. especially Halo Combat Evolved. It has my favorite multiplayer out of the entire franchise. Something about the faster kill times just meshes so much better with me. Halo is the only reason I own Xbox consoles. The original Xbox for Halo 1 and 2, the 360 for Halo 3, the Xbox One for Halo 5, which, before you say anything, I really did enjoy the multiplayer, but my Xbox One is still sitting in my closet because I just have no reason to use it. That's why my 360 is still sitting on my desk with a wide library. I still occasionally come back to use it, but I just haven't had any reason to use my Xbox One. Anyway, point being, Halo Combat Evolved is finally on PC. Again. Now, I played every version of Halo Combat Evolved. The original Xbox, the original PC port, the 360 Anniversary Edition, the MCC Xbox One release, and now the version on PC. I'm not going to talk forever about the port because I mostly just want to talk about the game. I really like Halo. And if you want to know more about the port, I would encourage you to watch Digital Foundry's video of it, but I will briefly talk about it. A lot of people were understandably concerned about Halo Combat Evolved's port to PC. After all, Halo Reach's port was not that great, and it still has issues that have not been fixed. I wasn't one of those people tremendously worried. As I said, this game has been ported so many times to so many different platforms that it's easier to work with now. As far as the port goes, this is much better than the original PC release back in 2003. That should go without saying. That original port was kind of a mess. But I would go so far as to say this release of Halo Combat Evolved is the best release you should play, even over the Xbox versions. Before you get angry, it's not perfect. None of the versions are perfect, and there are some problems, but none of them are game-breaking. In fact, while streaming through the entire game and playing many hours of multiplayer, I only found one bug. That bug is that if you spam the plasma pistol, the charged plasma pistol sound starts playing.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the plasma pistol is bugged.
Mildly annoying at worst. Other than this one minor bug, I didn't run into any issues. It ran at a frame rate I wanted it to, with the animations also being matched to your frame rate so it doesn't look choppy. The mouse aim didn't feel like there was weird acceleration, it felt pretty smooth. It runs at any resolution you wanted to, even if you wanted to run it at 4K. You can raise your FOV, which is something you really needed to do for Halo 1 because the port had a worse FOV than the original Xbox version, but not the case here. Overall, it's a pleasant experience, and this is the version I would play over all of the other versions. And there was some new options added thanks to the Anniversary content. Back in 2011, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary came out, which is a graphical overhaul of the original Halo Combat Evolved. This port to the PC is that Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition, which is really nice to have these new graphics added in to play with. This is where I need to address the elephant in the room, because there's a very loud vocal minority that hates these new graphics, and they will make sure you know. As I was streaming, I'd occasionally see comments on my second screen talking about how the new graphics look terrible and they ruin the art style and the tone of the game. I've never agreed with this at all. My take on this was always that the original Halo had some graphical limitations, so your mind naturally filled that gap of what you didn't see. And since this new one doesn't match up with what you saw in your head, people say it ruins the tone of the game. I understand the argument that it's brighter, but that alone doesn't ruin the tone of the game. I really disagree with this argument. I like the new graphics. I think they look fantastic, and I'm going to choose these new graphics 10 times out of 10. This is a completely subjective thing. You don't have to like the new graphics. You can like the older graphics more than the new ones. That's perfectly fine. What I don't understand though is the need to go everywhere yelling at people playing with the new graphics just to make sure they know that it's worse. I'm gonna be honest, I don't give a shit. I just like Halo and want to play Halo. Besides, if you don't like the new graphics, turn them off. It's optional. There's even a new added edition where you don't have to use the new Anniversary sound effects, which is really awesome. Again, personally, I would prefer to use the new sound effects. I think they sound like the old sound effects, but just better. I'm sure I made a few people angry by saying that, but the shotgun sound effect still sounds like a cannon, but with even more bass. And that same logic applies to everything else in the game. At least that's how I hear it. But again, if you don't like it, you can turn it off, and that's perfectly fine. I hope I don't come across as rude. I probably did there, but it's really hard to go anywhere on the internet and not see someone angry by this, and it seems so weird. It just kind of seems like an unproportionate reaction to something that isn't that big of a deal. So there's my feelings on the PC port. It runs as intended, nothing feels particularly broken, and most importantly to me, you can use a mouse and keyboard. Halo on console always felt a little bit weird to me. Here's a shooter all about precision and headshots. Have a controller! Thanks. That's what I wanted. But hey, we all still played it because Halo is a really good game, so having it on PC is just so nice. With that all out of the way, let's actually talk about the game. Let's start with the story. I've always enjoyed the story to Halo Combat Evolved. It's simple, has a few twists and turns, and is easy to follow. You're trying to escape from a killer alien fleet, you land on a weird ring world, you find something that you really don't want to let off this ring, and you blow it all up to get away. The premise is as simple as you can get, yet somehow they managed to cram 4 different factions in here. You have the humans, the Covenant, the Flood, and the Forerunner AI. All 4 of these factions are working against each other. Yet the general feeling of Halo Combat Evolved managed to avoid the sort of space soap opera feeling of Halo 2 and 3. It's simpler, and typically it feels lonelier, as you have your back to the wall all alone against the Covenant and the Flood. I love the general tone of Halo Combat Evolved. It's very different from Halo 2 and 3. Master Chief doesn't have this aura of being a god in the first game that he does in the second and third, but in Master Chief's defense, he got that aura of feeling like a god because of the events in Halo 1. They even managed to add in some extra story via the terminals that you can find throughout the levels. This doesn't ruin the current story in the game, it just adds something on top of it. These are awesome. They explain how 343 Guilty Spark got to where he was in Halo 2 from Halo 1. This was a plot hole that was never explained beforehand. At least, not in the games. And then there's that one terminal. My favorite terminal in the game. This is the one that focuses on Key's descent into the Flood.
Oh God, you don't want Earth, you want everything. Get out of my head! Miranda, is that you?
Forget everything.
No, please, don't let me forget.
This cutscene makes me genuinely uncomfortable. It's the only thing in the Halo games that really focuses on how messed up it would be to encounter the Flood. You see people running away from the Flood, you see people terrified of the Flood, you know it's a big threat, but you never see this part of it. Either way, if you play through Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary and you don't find all these terminal videos, I would highly recommend you go YouTube them or go out of your way to find them. They're really worth it. As far as the story goes, it's competent and has a very good presentation, but doesn't do anything game-breaking, and that's okay. It's easy to follow, and that's what I like about it. As for the gameplay, I want to do something a little bit different. This game has very clear defined levels, so let's talk about each level briefly. The Pillar of Autumn. The very beginning of the franchise, the first Halo level that you will ever play. This level serves almost as a tutorial without you realizing it. I know it has a very brief tutorial at the beginning that tells you if you want inverted controls or not, but if you select heroic, you'll skip by that anyway. What I mean is that this level is very linear. It's hard to mess up on this level. It presents combat encounters to you without it being too high risk. Enough for you to understand the game with it still being enjoyable. It's not too dumbed down, it lets you do what you want, but it doesn't really let you mess up. This level is also setting up the reveal to the Halo ring. Halo is really where Halo opens up. This level is a lot more open than the first game. It's no longer linear. Instead, they give you a Warthog for the very first time in the entire franchise and give you 3 different objectives to go rescue Marines. Personally, myself, I don't hate this level, but I never really cared for it either. It just kind of feels like a chore to drive out of your way to find these Marines and then to defend them until they leave and then go find the next ones. The Truth and Reconciliation. This level starts you with a sniper and you sneak your way onto a Covenant carrier. This is the first time you get into any sort of environment like this. It's also where one of Halo's problems really starts showing up. The game's graphics are very copy-paste. I guarantee you the first or second time going through this level, you're going to wander around not knowing where to go. It's literally just hallways, but every hallway looks the same. Nowadays, this is not really a problem for me because I played the game so many times I know exactly where to go, but back in the day, I remember hating this. That's not to say anything about the level itself. The level itself is quite fun. Your objective this level is to rescue Captain Keyes, who went down to the ship on the Halo ring and then was captured by the Covenant. This level is probably also the first time you really start seeing plasma grenade chain reaction explosions. I love these do not get old. The Silent Cartographer. This is, in my opinion, the best Halo level in the entire franchise. What is there to be said about this level that hasn't been said before? This level is not linear, but there's a very clear path to take. You're set on a circular island. No matter what direction you go, you are going to get to your objective. And throughout the island, there are Covenant that you can kill along the way. Eventually, you find your way to the intersection of the island, go down below, find your objective, and come back up. This map design is so good, it's been a major influence on developers moving forward. In fact, many years later after Halo Combat Evolved, a mod for Half-Life 2 came out called Minerva. This mod was so good, the modder got hired by Valve. His name is Adam Foster. I took a screenshot of Minerva and posted it on Reddit years ago, and he replied to it in the comments, of which I basically kind of interviewed him. Now, the mod is set up in a way that is extremely similar to the Silent Cartographer, and I asked him about that. And he said he had to stop playing Halo while making the mod so he didn't just rip it off. This is the kind of impact this level has. It's perfection and I could play it time and time again without getting bored. Assault on the Control Room. This is one of Halo's bigger levels. It's a giant snowy canyon that you have to drive all the way through, but there's tons of extra rooms and pathways to get to that driving point too. Lots of on foot, lots of in vehicle. The on foot parts really start to drive home the copy paste nature of Halo 1's graphics. This is one of those levels that looks the same. In fact, the developers had to put arrows in each room to make sure you go the right direction. I'm glad they're there, but it really highlights how similarly every room looks. Anyway, if you like Halo's vehicles, you probably are going to like this level, and the change in scenery is nice. I'm always down for a snowy environment in video games, just don't have it snow in my hometown. Seriously, you have 4-wheel drive, not 4-wheel stop. Go take public transit and get off the road. Anyway, the point of this level is to find Halo's control room. You plug Cortana in, she gets freaked out by something and sends you along your way. 343 Guilty Spark, you were dropped off in a dark swamp trying to find keys. Cortana is freaked out by something, you don't know what, she didn't bother telling you, and you have to stop Keys before he finds that thing. The presentation is great, something has spooked a lot of people, and something has gone wrong. This is the main twist in the reveal of the Flood. The Covenant never stops being the enemy, but the Flood become the real enemy from this point on. This probably won't have the impact on you today that it did back then because it's been spoiled and everyone knows that the Flood exists. But when you first play Halo without having any other information, this is a genuine twist. You had never seen the Flood before. This was a game about killing evil aliens, not suddenly zombie parasites. Regardless, it's a fantastic setup with a great payoff. And it goes to the next level, the library. No. No, just no to everything. What the fuck is this shit? You are going to be seeing these same dull walls for floor after floor, while you fight the same boring enemy for floor after floor. The Flood's interesting lore is unfortunately let down by the gameplay being extremely boring. In an attempt to make the Flood interesting, they just run at you and overwhelm you. Occasionally they'll shoot at you inaccurately with a weapon from range, big deal, or they'll just randomly kill you with a rocket launcher.
Alright, one more floor. I like how the moment I get to the light. Oh my god!
Wow.
I went to scratch my face and it turned the corner. God damn it.
Okay, that's actually pretty funny, but still, the Floods suck. Having an entire level dedicated to the Flood and having the entire level look the same is so goddamn tedious. My method for beating this level is never stopping, always moving forward, just trying to speedrun it because I don't want to play it. What makes this even worse is that the whole point to this level is to retrieve the index, which you spawn about 100 feet away from, but have to go up 4 floors and take the elevator back down to pick it up. This is, in my opinion, by far the worst level in Halo history. I feel like from this point on, I just don't want to keep playing the game. The library is a crappy level, and then the following levels really aren't that great either, aside from the mob, but I'll get to that. The 2 betrayals. This is that big snowy level, except now you're going the other way. And there's Flood. Great, I'm backtracking and there's Flood. Nice. To be fair, it can be amusing to see pure chaos between the Covenant and the Flood fighting, but as a whole, it doesn't quite make this level worth playing. It feels like filler, and they didn't do enough to make the backtracking interesting. I've already played on this level, but now I'm playing on this level with an enemy I don't find fun. Keys. You're backtracking again, except for this time it's a Covenant cruiser that has totally torn apart and there's Flood everywhere. The objective here is to rescue Keys out of the cruiser again, except for this time the Flood captured him. Once again, my tactic on this level is to just try to run through the Flood as quickly as possible and speedrun it because I just kind of don't want to play it. And in my defense, if you don't do this, you're going to be held up by the Flood constantly spawning anyway, so you really gotta go. You eventually do meet up with Keys, or what's left of him, and punch the hell out of his face to get something that you need. The Maw. Aside from sounding like a vor story, this is the final level in Halo Combat Evolved. On this level, you find yourself on the Pillar of Autumn, which crash landed on the Halo ring. For once, backtracking is actually interesting, seeing the ship completely torn apart. Your whole goal for this level is to blow up the Pillar of Autumn, destroying the Halo ring entirely, getting rid of the Flood. 343 Guilty Spark comes back and tries to stop you, so you do it the manual way. You set up the chain reaction, you get into the Warthog for a legendary escape sequence that will always be fun. Redneck sounding Flowhammer dies, you get into a ship, fly away, ring explodes, game ends. I say the second half of Halo Combat Evolved is rather weak compared to the first half, but that does not include this level. This level is a fantastic, great, fun level, with a fulfilling ending. It took me about 4 hours to stream through it, but I played this game so many times that I guarantee you the first time through will probably take you a few extra hours than it took me. How would I rate it amongst the rest of the Halo games as far as campaign is concerned? I wouldn't say it's one of the better ones. I'd rather play Halo 2 or Halo 3's campaign over Halo 1, but what I would rather play is Halo Combat Evolved's multiplayer over the later games. I did mention I love the multiplayer, and I want to briefly talk about it. People oftentimes joke, talking about how overpowered Halo 1's pistol is, But in all reality, the pistol isn't overpowered. They're forgetting one really crucial thing. Everything kills faster in Halo 1. Halo Combat Evolved's pistol loses to the sniper and loses to both the shotgun and assault rifle up close. It doesn't really do anything particularly well aside from medium range, but that will still lose to a sniper. It just does everything pretty well. Does that sound familiar? It should. It's Halo's utility weapons. This is how it's always been in every Halo game. The only thing that makes people catch up on the Halo 1 pistol is the fact that it's a pistol, not a rifle. If this pistol looked something more like the DMR, I doubt anyone would have questioned it. If we really want to talk about overpowered Halo weapons, we should be talking about the Halo 2 BR, not the Halo 1 pistol. The Halo 2 battle rifle is the most overpowered weapon in the entire franchise within its respective game. Simply put, nothing checks the Halo 2 battle rifle in Halo 2. But that's a topic for another video once Halo 2 finally releases on PC. But let's talk about why I like Halo Combat Evolved's multiplayer so much. For starters, as I mentioned, the time to kill is faster. This just meshes with me. Something feels so good about that 3-shot pistol. Something also feels really good about just mowing someone down with the assault rifle up close. The rocket launcher having a ridiculously huge blast radius but also being slower, so if you manage to not kill them, you're still in a really bad spot. Equally as satisfying. The reason I like Halo Combat Evolved is because the skill gap is so big. Halo 2 and 3 had way more bullet magnetism, way more aim assist. Simply put, the gunplay was way more foolproof. When someone is a better shot in Halo 1, you know it, and you stand no chance. Halo Combat Evolved is such a different game from the later games. If you think you're really good at Halo 2 and you come into Halo Combat Evolved thinking you're going to do well, you're going to have a bad time. To put it simply, Halo Combat Evolved's multiplayer is a game of highs and lows. When things are going well, it feels incredibly rewarding. When things are going bad, it's infuriating. The one real complaint to have about Halo 1's multiplayer are the spawns. See, Halo 1's spawns aren't too different from the later Halo games, with one really big exception. This game does not give a flying fuck if there's an enemy near your teammate or not. You're spawning on your teammate, probably to die instantly. You might get a random spawn behind an enemy, but vast majority of the time, you're spawning on your teammate in combat. It takes time to pull that pistol out, so by the time you finally have the pistol out, you're one shot or dead. Now there are ways to kind of mess with this spawn system, putting your back to a wall so someone spawns on a level above you, stuff like this. But really, I can't defend this. This is an awful spawn system that results in a lot of spawn killing, and if they changed that in the remastering, I would not have cared. The one other thing they added to the multiplayer with Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary is that they added a mode for Halo Reach, which tries to emulate Halo Combat Evolved, making the pistol a 3-shot and bringing back some Halo 1 maps. Now, as you guys already know at this point, I really hate Halo Reach's multiplayer. I don't like Bloom, I don't like armor abilities, I don't like the maps. But I put a lot of time into this game mode and really liked this game mode. Having Halo 1 maps was a godsend. Halo 1 maps play extremely well, and having the 3-shot pistol still felt incredibly satisfying. On top of that, there were no armor abilities, there was no sprint, there was no random anything. If all of Reach was like this, I would have loved its multiplayer. But that about sums up everything. I had a lot of people asking me if you should buy this port or not, and I would say yes, go ahead. This is actually my preferred way to play Halo 1 now. It's just so much easier to ping all my friends in Discord, get them into a Discord call, and have them join my game on PC. You don't know fun until you get 16 people with rocket launchers on Prisoner. But I'm gonna stop talking here or this video is going to be a lot longer than I wanted it to be. It probably already is. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thanks to all of you that came out and hung with me over on Twitch. My Twitch is twitch.tv/JarekTheGamingDragon. On May 12th, 2020, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Halo 2 Anniversary released on PC. And for the next straight 7.5 hours, I streamed the game. Before I get on with the analysis, here are just some of the funny things that can still happen in Halo 2 to this day.
A body just went flying up there. Oh my god.
I think
Oh,
so.
he just got yeeted. Oh god. Oh, there was another one.
Fire in the hole.
Why did I spawn here? What is this? Oh, well, the game killed me. Oh, no, I'm fine. This is a bad place to be, but I'm fine. What the fuck? Why did it do that?
It looked like you just jumped out.
I wasn't pushing anything. So for those of you that don't know, the tank and these shields are not friends for this reason.
Goodbye, world. Look who I'm at.
I died. Well, yeah. The flood just aren't. Oh! But you're not. What the fuck?
Fear not, my brother's secret items.
What? What? Oh, they stuck each other. Oh god.
That was a lot of
I don't want to be here.
Oh, shields up. I'm going after it. What happened? I heard death sounds.
Hey everyone, Jarek here. As if you can't tell by the intro, I have an extensive history with Halo 2. It came out in 2004, which made me around 13 or 14 years old when it released. Throughout late middle school to early high school, Halo 2 and Super Smash Bros. Melee were the games to play. After cross-country practice or basketball or baseball practice, I would go over to my friend's house and we would play those games for hours. Now you might think that my love for Halo 2 is rooted in nostalgia, but that's not really the case, as I never stopped playing Halo 2, and the same can be said for Super Smash Bros. Melee. Sort of. I kinda went on to PM, but same basis. I believe that no matter how old or how young you are, whether you played Halo 2 or not before, you can play Halo 2 today and still find it to be one of the most fun shooter experiences you've ever had. Why? Well, because there's nothing else like Halo 2. Even the Halo games that came after don't quite feel like Halo 2 while still being Halo games, with the exception of Halo 4. And we won't talk about the Halo 5 campaign, but you get my point. These games are unique, and their gameplay mechanics still hold up. Although I will tell you that if you're 13 or 14 years old right now, cherish the time you have with the games you're playing when you're young, because I really wish I had footage of my friends playing Halo 2 and Melee back then. It's not necessarily the games I have nostalgic memories for, it's the experiences with my friends playing those games. But goddamn if Halo 2 isn't good, so let's talk about it. First things first, I am playing the new Halo 2 Anniversary port that just came out to PC, but I don't really want to talk about the port too much. There are a lot of other people that are more qualified to talk about this than I am, so I'll let them do that. I'll keep this short, so if you just want to hear about Halo 2, don't worry. Halo 2 Anniversary is so far the best Halo port we've gotten on PC. It's definitely a better port than what we got for Halo Reach and Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. You can raise your resolution, you can raise your frame rate, you can raise your FOV, the mouse aim feels completely smooth and I didn't notice any mouse acceleration. Overall, this game just works as intended. At least in my case with my setup and my hardware. Every time I say this, someone comes along and says, oh, it wouldn't work for me at all and I had a bunch of problems. But for the most part, it seems to be a very solid port. I did have one problem though, and that was that occasionally when you loaded a new map, the game would begin stuttering like crazy and it would be unplayable until it fixed itself. This would usually only happen for the next 15-20 seconds or so, and it was kind of rare, but when it did happen, it was really noticeable. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with this PC port. Playing at 1440p 60 FPS, it was perfectly fine. Now we can move on to the actual game, and believe it or not, I was not always so positive about Halo 2. I played a lot of Halo Combat Evolved, mostly through incredibly laggy online matches on PC because that netcode was something special, but I still really enjoyed Halo Combat Evolved, and some things threw me off about Halo 2. My initial thoughts on Halo 2 were, what the hell happened to the Halo Combat Evolved pistol? Why do we have this dinky little pile of garbage? Why are the elites speaking now? What happened to their beautiful wording? There's another Halo? What is this bullshit? I just blew that up. Why is the time to kill so slow? And what happened to the unique melee animations for every weapon? Nowadays I can appreciate Halo 2 for what it is, but back then I was still trying to get over the fact that Halo 2 was very different from Halo 1. In all reality, all of these complaints have answers. Where did the Halo Combat Evolved pistol go? Why was it replaced with this tiny pile of garbage trash? Well, for starters, this tiny pile of garbage trash really isn't a tiny pile of garbage. It's pretty good in a dual-wielding situation, assuming the other person doesn't have a BR, which they probably will. In all reality, the Halo Combat Evolved pistol got replaced with the battle rifle as Halo's utility weapon. I'm still convinced to this day that if in Halo 1 the pistol actually had a skin of a DMR, no one would have thought anything about it. Why do the elites speak now? As much as I miss the odd charisma that the elites had in Halo 1, this was to add in a lot more depth to your antagonists in Halo 2. You can't have character development if you can't understand your antagonists. The same thing can be said for there being more Halo rings. With more context to this, it's not really a complaint. You get to see the whole political backstructure to the Covenant, and this is fascinating nowadays, but back then it just baffled me. The last two complaints are still sort of valid. Halo 2's time to kill is a lot slower than Halo Combat Evolved's, and I prefer a faster time to kill, but that's personal preference. This all comes down to accepting that Halo 2 is just a very different game. As for the melee animations though, there was no reason to change this and I still hate that. obviously not going to ruin the game by any means, but those animations in Halo 1 were just so violent. With a shotgun, you just swing the entire shotgun over your head and beat the crap out of something. In Halo 2, you hit them with your forearm. Anywho, let's talk about Halo 2's story. Or more so the presentation. I'm more interested in talking about the presentation of Halo 2's story more than the story itself. The story isn't bad, far from it, but I'm just not interested in explaining it in depth. We've all played Halo 2, we all know what happens. What I do want to talk about again is the presentation. Halo 2, I think, is the first game we could really consider a AAA title by today's standards. Microsoft put millions into this game. We had Hollywood level voice acting.
What would you have your arbiter do?
The cinematography and cutscenes could be put into art museums, and alongside of Marty O'Donnell with the musical score, we had bands like Incubus and Breaking Benjamin on the soundtrack. Halo Combat Evolved's success was a surprise to both Bungie and Microsoft. They didn't think it would end up being as big as it was, and they were throwing everything at Halo 2 to make it successful, and it worked. You cannot understand anything that's happening in these cutscenes and they will still keep your attention. On top of that, Halo 2 Anniversary redid their cutscenes entirely. Originally these were in-game cutscenes, but in Halo 2 Anniversary these are all beautiful CGI. These cutscenes really make me want a full production Halo movie, but they probably just fuck it up, so I don't know if I really want that or not. Regardless, look at these things. Do I need to say anything more? In a similar vein, Halo 2 Anniversary looks gorgeous, and just like Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, if you want to see the old graphics at any time, you can press the tab button and see what it looked like 16 years ago. In Halo 2 Anniversary, this also goes back to the old music and the old audio, as they redid the music and audio for Halo 2 Anniversary. That's not to say Halo 2 looked bad when it came out. Halo 2 was arguably the best console-looking game in 2004. Unfortunately, in 2004, you also had to compete with Far Cry 1, Doom 3, and Half-Life 2, all of which look a lot better than Halo 2 did, but those also weren't stuck to consoles. But as of today, that was 16 years ago. For a 10-year anniversary, they decided to remake Halo 2, and they did it in arguably the best way possible. They built on top of the original engine so that it plays exactly like it used to. On top of that, people don't have the complaints that they had with Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. Some people will say that the art style of Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary conflicts with what it used to look like. It ruined Bungie's vision. I don't agree with this, but I can see the argument. That argument can't really be made for Halo 2 Anniversary. This just looks like a better version of Halo 2. I mean, what more could be said? It was always a treat to stop for a moment and just look at how much better the game looks now compared to the original. And personally, I love the new sound effects that they added. The weapons sound beefy. From here we move on to the gameplay, and instead of doing what I usually do, I think I'll go level by level this time. Halo 2 starts in a very similar way to Halo Combat Evolved. Cairo Station, much like the Pillar of Autumn. It's a linear level going through, you guessed it, Cairo Station. You immediately get acquainted with the all-powerful battle rifle, and you better get used to this thing because you're going to use it a lot. Not that that's a bad thing. The Halo 2 battle rifle is arguably the most satisfying in the entire Halo franchise, although I think I would personally give that to the Halo CE Magnum. You also get to see Halo 2's brand new enemy for the first time, the Buggers. I actually remember seeing screenshots of these enemies and being incredibly excited before Halo 2 came out. And then I fought them. Fuck these enemies. You only have one encounter with them in a room where you have plenty of BR ammo, so they're not really a big deal here, but the more you play the game, the more you realize how annoying these things are. The next two levels are very similar, so I'm going to group them together. And these two levels, along with the Silent Cartographer, are the levels I think about when I think of Halo single player. I would argue the best Halo campaign missions of all time are 1. The Silent Cartographer, 2. Outskirts, 3. Metropolis. I was very excited for these levels because for the first time in Halo, you were fighting on Earth. These levels are an amazing mix of CQB and vehicle combat against the Covenant. Despite being pretty linear, it gives the players plenty of freedom to do whatever they want to. There's also plenty of Easter eggs, and of course the legendary Scarab gun. Speaking of legendary, this is the first experience you'll get with these Sniper Jackals. Not today though, I only play this game on Heroic. If you're playing on Legendary, good luck and have fun because clearly you like to torture yourself. The next two I'll also group together, the Arbiter and Oracle. This is the first time you get to play as an elite in Halo. It was also the very first time you get to use the Plasma Sword, which the game really wanted you to use because there's quite a few of these around. The Arbiter is much cooler than Master Chief because unlike his stupid little flashlight, you get to cloak for all of like 5 seconds. Most of this level is pretty straightforward. You're fighting Covenant through linear pathways. There's a few standout moments like when you have to cut the cables and send the station into freefall, which you can send yourself into orbit and kill yourself, accidentally jumping at the wrong time. And then at the end of the Oracle, you get to fight a heretic who is incredibly stupid and decides to shoot you as you were listening. If this guy doesn't shoot the Arbiter here, he gains an ally. The Arbiter eventually ended up siding with his cause later on in the game anyway. The next two see you playing as Master Chief once again in Delta Halo and Regret. The opening of Delta Halo is unforgettable.
Could we possibly make any more noise? I guess so.
This is definitely one of the high points of Halo 2, and although I don't think it's quite as good as Outskirts or Metropolis, it's definitely enjoyable. The combination of the pod-dropping cinematic, the gunfight, and Marty O'Donnell's amazing music playing in the background. Peril will always be in your mind. I wish I could play the music in the background right now, but it'll immediately get a Content ID claim. Thanks, YouTube. This level is visual and audio perfection. The combat is enjoyable, the vehicles are placed well. You want to play this level time and time again. And then the Flood show up to fuck everything up. Sacred Icon and Quarantine Zone are awful, easily the worst levels in the game, and I never want to play them. You're playing in the Arbiter as these levels, so at least you can cloak by them, but that's kind of the problem with these levels. I don't want to play them. And unless you really enjoy being stuck on an elevator just killing Flood over and over until you can finally progress forward, you won't like them either. When the player wants to speedrun through the level avoiding enemies rather than actually playing it, you know it's probably not a very good level. Next up is Gravemind. By the time I got done saying that, if you're playing on Legendary, you already died. If you're playing on Heroic, you're still struggling. Yeah, so the opening room of this level is not exactly very fair to the player. You're thrown into an open room without much cover with crappy weapons and a bunch of brutes all trying to kill you. But once you get through this room, you're fighting through High Charity, and it's quite enjoyable. You're mostly just fighting brutes as you try to free Marines, and this game managed to avoid the feeling that Halo Combat Evolved have by things being copy-paste the whole way through. Next up is Uprising. You're back to playing as the Arbiter during a civil war where you're fighting nothing but brutes. This level is fun, but it really highlights one of my problems. I hate brutes. Brutes aren't necessarily that enjoyable to fight. They're not, like, Flood annoying, but they're just bullet sponges that eventually get angry and run at you. I could forgive this if their visual design was more interesting than just a big ape. Seriously, you have jackals, grunts, elites, the prophets, all of these look like aliens. And then there are the brutes. This doesn't look like an alien species to me, it just looks like an ugly old ape. That's always been a big pet peeve of mine, I just kind of wanted to get it out. This level is really good, I just hate brutes. Next up is High Charity. You're fighting through High Charity again as Master Chief, except for now there are Flood everywhere. Joy. This is another low point of the campaign, but it's nowhere near as bad as Sacred Icon or Quarantine Zone. And the last level sees you playing as the Arbiter again for the Great Journey. The first half of it starts like Uprising where you're fighting through brutes as the Arbiter, and the second half sees you defending a Scarab as you go to unlock a door to fight Tartarus to stop him from activating the ring. You eventually confront Tartarus, Sergeant Johnson sucks a dodgeball, and you have a rather anticlimactic boss fight that just results in you running around sitting waiting for Sergeant Johnson to take down his shields and then killing Tartarus. Nonetheless, this boss battle could have been worse, and this is a very fitting final mission for the game, if it wasn't for this line.
Sir, finishing this fight.
We had to wait 3 years to finish the fight. 13 if you play on PC. Despite any negative I can come up with Halo 2, overall it is an incredibly solid single player campaign that is still fun all these years later. I've played it endless times. I still want to play it more. Oh, but we're not done yet because it's not a Halo video unless I talk about the massive multiplayer impact Halo 2 had. Before I do that, let me tell you some stats about this channel. I mentioned before that this channel is kind of a sausage party as far as viewership goes, but my female attendance has rose to almost 5%. It's an improvement. Also, I've mentioned that before about 75% of people that watch the channel aren't subscribed. That number is lowered to 66%, which is awesome. Keep subscribing, keep clicking that bell, it helps me a lot. Especially right now, YouTube revenue is down hardcore. A lot of people think that since everyone's at home, we're making more money, but that's not necessarily true. My views can go up, but my revenue can keep going down because without advertisers putting money into the system, there's no ads to click on, so I can't be making any money. So I need your help now more than ever. If you want to help me, my Twitch and Patreon are much more reliable ways. My Twitch is twitch.tv/JarekTheGamingDragon. I stream there all the time. And my Patreon is patreon.com/Jarek4. Anyway, the multiplayer. I sunk so many hundreds upon thousands of hours into Halo 2's multiplayer. Now, on the PC platform, we had been playing online multiplayer games for quite a while now, but for consoles, they were still catching up. Halo 2 effectively created console online multiplayer. The system Bungie made for Halo 2 matchmaking effectively went on to be the basis for all of Xbox Live. How many of you remember leaving your Halo 2 disc in your original Xbox just so you could see what your friends were doing, even if you weren't playing the game? Halo 2 was a phenomenon. Everyone played it. It was the height of online gaming. I cannot understate how big Halo 2's multiplayer was. I talk to people that will have opinions about Halo and they'll say Halo 5 sucks because it's just awful, but I can tell they're not into multiplayer and I don't think they understand how big Halo's multiplayer is. You cannot have Halo without multiplayer. And Halo 2 ended up being the basis for all of Halo's multiplayer moving forward, with the exception of Halo 4. Sure, Halo 1 got the fundamentals down for how gunplay felt, but Halo 2 really changed things up. The two biggest changes from Halo 1 to Halo 2 was 1, time to kill, and 2, map design. Time to kill is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to play a lot safer with a faster time to kill than a slower time to kill. But the maps in Halo 2 had a theme. Generally, they had a few bases where power weapons would spawn, and it was all about map control and controlling these power weapons. For this reason, Halo 2 was one of the first MLG games along with Super Smash Bros. Melee. Halo was a mainstay throughout MLG's days. It has a legacy, and I really can't say enough about it. The funny thing is, I have a lot of complaints with Halo 2's multiplayer, mostly with how buggy it is, and especially with how overpowered the Halo 2 battle rifle is compared to the rest of the weapons sandbox. Seriously, people say the Halo Combat Evolved pistol is overpowered, but that's really not that true. Everything killed quickly in Halo 1, but in Halo 2, nothing could compete with this battle rifle. And it didn't make it any better that there were so many button combos you can do that allow you to kill even faster, and if you could do this, no one stood a chance. Yet despite how many problems Halo 2 had, it's still one of my favorite multiplayers. There's something about it that just feels so right. And that's without even mentioning all the extra game modes. SWAT really became an official game mode in Halo 2. I had been playing it for a long time in Halo 1, but Halo 2 is really where it took off. Or if you really wanted to, you could just play with your friends and do swords only or any silly stuff like that. Halo 2 is a perfect example of a game that is easy to pick up and difficult to master. The skill gap from an experienced player to even a mediocre player is massive. The skill ceiling is incredibly high. And this is what you need for a good multiplayer game. Halo 2 didn't have any unlocks, it didn't have any RPG elements, you couldn't grind to unlock attachments for your gun. Everything was given to you immediately right away, and people stayed because it was fucking good. But there was something else thrown in with Halo 2 Anniversary. Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, which is not the same as Halo 2 multiplayer. The best way I can describe Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer is that it feels like Halo 4 modded to play like Halo 2. It's best to look at this as an entirely different game. If you come into this expecting this to be Halo 2 multiplayer but it's prettier, you'll be disappointed. The battle rifle feels very different. It feels like it shoots slower but is more accurate, and it feels nice in its own right, but it is no Halo 2 BR. It also runs an entirely different engine, so it feels like an alternate reality Halo 2. Again, look at it as its own separate multiplayer, away from Halo 2 multiplayer, and Halo 2 Anniversary has both, so you can enjoy both. I'm gonna stop myself from ranting here. I could go on and on about Halo 2. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I hope if you haven't played it, first of all, what have you been doing? Give it a chance, go play it. Thank all of you guys for watching. Again, if you want to check me out on Twitch, my Twitch is twitch.tv/JarekTheGamingDragon.
The wait is finally over!
From coast to coast, gamers lined up to get their hands on this little package, Halo 3.
Halo 3 is here.
When the second installment was released in 2004, sales skyrocketed past $125 million in the first 24 hours, and Microsoft predicts the newest version will do even better.
The launch of Halo 3 was one of the most exciting moments of my life. It's hard to explain just how big Halo 3 was. Digital sales did exist at the time, but they're nowhere near as big as they were now. Steam only started a few years prior. And the Xbox brand in its own way had gained considerable steam. It may not have won sales-wise between the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube, but it definitely had the best online. It was the most powerful console of that generation. People noticed, especially with a system seller like Halo 2, and Xbox Live that nothing else could compete with. Combine this with the fact that the Xbox 360 launched a year before the PlayStation 3, and when the PlayStation 3 did launch,
It requires huge financial investment, $599 US.
Yeah, it may be easy to forget nowadays, but at first the 360 was completely demolishing the PlayStation 3 thanks to Sony's mistakes and Microsoft's success. And Microsoft was doing an incredibly good job garnering excitement for the new Xbox. They had titles like Gears of War and most notably Halo 3. Both of these games, and many other early 360 titles, to me have some of the most memorable marketing campaigns. I still strongly attach the song Mad World to that one Gears of War commercial, and I'll probably be able to replay every Halo 3 commercial in my head until the day I die. But the most notable one is probably the Believe commercial. This led to Halo 3's launch being the biggest media release of all time at that point. If you were around at that time, you remember how much excitement there was for this game. I'm sure plenty of you still have a few unopened cans of that old Halo 3 Mountain Dew game fuel. I was in high school at the time and said screw school, went to the midnight launch, got Halo 3, played Halo 3 all night long and woke up at 4 p.m. which is actually the sleep schedule I mostly stick to today. If you're about to call me lazy for sleeping all day, while you're sleeping all night, I'm working. You're lazy. Yeah, the logic doesn't work, does it? Point being, 2007 was a special time of my life that will be very hard to forget. Halo is an interesting case with me. It's hard to have nostalgia for the game because I never stopped playing it, at least as far as the multiplayer is concerned. If you say something about Halo 3, I think of out-BRing someone in Halo 3's multiplayer. However, those memories are still tucked deep in my brain. And one of the things that really unlocks those memories is hearing any of Halo 3's music. 2007 was a special time for me. I would leave high school, go to a friend's house, play Super Smash Bros. And Halo all day. A time where kids were dreaming forward instead of being adults dreaming backward. And especially not a time where we're dealing with a global pandemic and police literally shooting people in the head. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. The point is, this game had such an impact, it was such an event, that you'll find these sort of experiences everywhere, no matter where you go. So before I even dove into Halo 3, I wanted to somehow explain just how big it was. And if any of this makes you feel old, you're probably in your 20s or younger 30s. You're not old, you were just a kid back then, now you're an adult. Anyway, let's actually talk about Halo 3. Everything I said only applies if you played on console. Now, I'm mainly a PC gamer, but I had all the consoles at that time too, so I played a lot of Halo. If you didn't do that, you've been waiting 13 years to play Halo 3 on PC, and it's finally here. This is largely going to be just talking about Halo 3, not so much the PC port. I'm sure plenty of other people have reported on that already. I just wanted to talk about Halo. I'm also operating under the assumption that you probably have played Halo 3, but I'm also realizing a lot of kids didn't play Halo. It was before their times, which irrationally infuriates me. But it also means I don't want to spoil anything for them. I think they need to experience it for the first time on their own. Don't worry, I didn't want to sit here and recite the plot anyway, but I do want to talk about the finer details of things. Just note there won't be any spoilers. I guess let's start with the graphics. For a long time now, I've occasionally heard people ask for a Halo 3 anniversary. But to be honest, this game really doesn't need it. It graphically still looks good. Sure, the animations and the textures are a little outdated, but as a whole, it's still a pretty looking game. And this really just shines light on how big of a game this was back in 2007. Back then, a new console generation meant a massive leap forward graphically. We've definitely reached the point of diminishing returns today, but compare the original Xbox to the Xbox 360. There are some moments in Halo 3 where I'm still genuinely impressed by the lighting. And for 2007, the environments are large, no matter if you're playing on console or PC. However, back then when Halo 3 was stuck on the 360, we were stuck to 720p 30 FPS. This game looks even better at 1440 60 FPS, which is what I'm playing at. And honestly, nothing more needs to be done. A larger resolution and a smoother frame rate is all you really need with Halo 3 for it to still look good today. Especially since a lot of its beauty comes in its presentation. The cinematography in the cutscenes, the angles they're using, the pan shots to show the vastness of whatever they're standing in front of. The classic Halo music that could have only been written by Marty O'Donnell. And the voice acting was just as good as the already amazing voice acting we had in Halo 2. This, as far as the story and plot is concerned, has the same presentation Halo 2 did, but with a much bigger budget. All of it really makes me want a proper Halo movie, but I'd be terrified they'd screw it up. On top of everything else, Halo 3 has a level of polish years ahead of Halo 2. Halo 2 was kind of a rushed game, and at times it suffered for that. Bungie did not make the same mistake with Halo 3. Every single loose end, every single conflict, every character was tied together with a neat solution in Halo 3's story. It is certainly more than enough to leave you fulfilled and attached to every one of these characters. Needless to say, as far as the hardware goes, as far as the graphics goes, as far as the story goes, Halo 3 surpasses Halo 2 in every single way possible. But that's leaving out the most important thing, the gameplay. All of this can be fine and dandy and fantastic, but if the gameplay sucks, so does the rest of your game. Halo 3 obviously doesn't suffer this, you already know the answer to that, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be going over every single level, very briefly. I don't want to make the video too long. The first level is technically not a level, it's just a cutscene called Arrival, but it's very important as it explains how Master Chief got to where he is from Halo 2. This is also the first time we see Master Chief and the Arbiter truly meeting each other in person. Yeah, they had that whole thing with Gravemind, but that's not really the same. This established that the elites and humans are working together now, even the human that forced the Arbiter to become the Arbiter to begin with.
Were it so easy. We must go. The brutes have our scent.
The first true level is Sierra 117. This is a very good introductory level. It's linear, doesn't throw too much at you to overwhelm the player the first time playing it, and introduces you to the new brutes. I always complained about the brutes in Halo 2. They just kind of look like big monkeys that get angry and charge you. They're not really that fun to fight. But in Halo 3, they've been overhauled. They can still get angry and charge you, but for the most part, they honestly feel more like you're fighting the elites in Halo 2 rather than the brutes from Halo 2. Lots of armor pieces that you'll need to shoot off to eventually get a headshot. They generally don't just devolve into getting angry and charging straight at you, making the whole gameplay routine very boring. Or at worst, frustrating. I should probably point out that Halo 3 is nowhere near as hard as Halo 2, and that's a good thing. If you're gonna be one of those people that points to me and says, "Oh, just get good," no, you're factually wrong. Halo 2 is a difficult game, and you're a clown if you think otherwise. That or you only played it on normal and never tried to play it on legendary. Crow's Nest. This is another linear level that really only serves the purpose of reuniting Master Chief with the UNSC. It's fun, but my memories I have with it are mostly just my own Marines constantly throwing grenades at me and killing me.
Or there's just too many guns I want to use. Stop shooting me. Oh! Dumbass Marine killed me!
Sabo Highway. This is where the game really starts to open up. It's the first vehicle segment. Halo 3's sandbox is largely on display here. Take a Warthog, take a Chopper, take a Wraith, walk if you want to, do whatever you want, however you want to deal with the enemies. Do as you please, have fun. This level is a great example of when I say things along the lines of Call of Duty campaigns suck because they're too linear and they're scripted and you're basically playing a movie. Halo 3 does the total opposite of that. It lets the player have complete freedom while still having a goal. And since the AI interact with each other in such a way, it always makes the game dynamic. It's never the same thing. Things like Call of Duty campaigns script and manufacture their big bombastic set pieces to play a specific way. They are forcing the game to be bombastic, and it will never change no matter how much you play it. Halo 3 allows the set piece to be bombastic around you. It allows you to try to control this set piece, instead of the game controlling you. The Storm, similar to Sabo Highway, but you'll mostly be remembering this one for the first Scarab encounter. Scarabs got completely redone in Halo 3. Instead of just being a one-time scripted event like it was in Halo 2, granted still being a fun one, Scarabs act more like regular enemies nowadays. Just very big ones. And again, Halo 3 Sandbox is completely open. You can deal with the Scarab however you want to. You can take the easy route out and just shoot down its legs and then jump on top of it. Or you can do something more interesting, like jump a mongoose onto it, or hijack a banshee and fly on top of it. As long as you shoot the weak spot inside of the Scarab, the game does not care how you get rid of it. You're allowed to do as you please. This was also the first time you were able to drive a mongoose, and I was so excited about that, because I was disappointed it was cut out of Halo 2. Then I realized the mongoose is actually kind of garbage, but it was still really fun. I didn't care. I'm so happy it was in the game. Floodgate. This might be the shortest level in Halo history, and as you can expect, it's the first time you encounter the Flood in Halo 3. I'm going to say something that might shock all of you. I don't mind the Flood in Halo 3. I know. I talk all the time about how much I hate the Flood in Halo 1 and 2. Even to go as far as to sometimes say the Flood ruin those games whenever they show up. But I just don't feel the same way in Halo 3. They're not my favorite enemy, but they're okay. They're even fun at times. Anyway, the Flood showing up are obviously a very big deal. Not just because you need to quarantine and deal with them, but because now there's another faction added to the story. The Ark. This is one of Halo 3's huge levels. It's one of the vehicle sections. You get to drive a tank, you get to drive a Warthog, you get to drive whatever you want. It's another level where the sandbox is on full display. I say this as someone that generally doesn't care too much for the Halo vehicle levels, like say in Halo 1, Halo the level, didn't really care too much for it. In Halo 3 the vehicles are fun, and I don't mind the vehicle levels. The Covenant. The Covenant might be the biggest Halo level up until this point. It was also the first time you got to use a Spartan laser. Yeah, kill him with your big angry pink eye. It was also the first time you get to use a Hornet. This was long overdue. The UNSC didn't really have anything to rival that of the Banshee. For almost anything else, there was a human equivalent to a Covenant weapon and vice versa. You had also only fought 2 Scarabs the entire game up until this level. This level has you fight 2 more at the same time. The Scarab battle and the entire fight around it is the perfect example of what I mean when I say Halo 3 was big and bombastic. It was bigger than anything Halo had had before, and it did it in a way that was polished, cohesive, and most importantly, fun. Okay, we gotta talk about Cortana. This level is generally regarded as one of the worst Halo levels. Up until this point, I had been remembering it that way myself, but honestly, it wasn't that bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not one of my favorite levels, but it doesn't give me that feeling of loathing the game. If I ever have to play the library or quarantine zone, I'm hating everything around me. You know that feeling when you're sitting at home and you have to do your homework and you just really want that homework to be done. You just don't want to do it. Or maybe you just woke up in the morning and you're dreading that thought of really not wanting to go to work, but you have to. That's what I feel like when I'm playing the library and quarantine zone. I didn't get that feeling when I was playing Cortana. It probably helps that it's not a tremendously long level, you can blaze through it rather quick. Anyway, this entire level is the Flood, as you can probably tell. And then we get to the final level, Halo. There's not much I can say without spoiling it, I mean it's the last level in the game. What I can say is that the ending Warthog run is one of my favorite Halo moments of all time, and I think all of you are going to share that opinion. Even if the physics like to try to kill you anyway.
Why are we doing a front flip? No!
Oh
no! Okay, that was not my fault.
That was all your fault, Jarek. I blame you.
Oh, that's so underwhelming. Why did that happen?
No.
No. It's fine. It is okay.
All in all, by the time I beat the game, it only took me around 3.5 hours, but do keep in mind, we're Halo players that have been playing since childhood, so it'll probably take you considerably longer. On top of that, Halo 3 is endlessly replayable, so I don't think anyone's going to complain about that anyway. Halo 3's campaign is bigger, it's louder, it's more emotional. It's the only time you can really say and throw out these buzzwords and have them be true. Halo 3, as far as campaign is concerned, truly was Bungie at their peak. It's probably not my favorite Halo game campaign-wise, but I can't argue with the fact that simply it is better than the others as far as polish is concerned. What I'm trying to say is it's just a really good game, just go play Halo 3. Oh, but we're not done yet, because we still have the multiplayer to talk about. Multiplayer has always been immensely popular when it comes to Halo. Without multiplayer, Halo just isn't Halo. Halo 2 was not a very balanced nor polished game. It brought up a lot of problems, especially the battle rifle being overpowered as all hell. Halo 3 aimed to completely rebalance the sandbox, and as a result, it feels like a totally different game instead of just Halo 2.5. Movement speed is slower, map design is vastly different, the weapon balance is much better. But most importantly, the Halo 1 pistol came back! Yeah, I was excited about that, and then I used it and realized that it really wasn't the Halo 1 pistol, it was just the model. It's not bad. I see a lot of people say that it is bad, but it truly isn't. But it's no Halo 1 pistol. Anyway, the point I want to hammer home is that Halo 3's multiplayer is way more balanced than Halo 2. The assault rifle is finally useful, even if it sounds like an automatic stapler. It's obviously not as useful as a utility weapon like, say, the battle rifle or the Covenant carbine, but it's not the Halo 2 SMG. However, I would be lying quite a bit if I said that Halo 3's multiplayer is my favorite in the franchise. It's not. I actually prefer both Halo 1 and Halo 2 over Halo 3. And for one real main reason. Yes, the battle rifle was overpowered in Halo 2, but it was really neutered in Halo 3. Halo 2 was hit scan. Halo 3 uses projectiles. These projectiles travel incredibly slowly. You have to lead your targets quite a bit, even if they're only 10 to 15 feet away from you, which I always thought was really annoying. But to make things worse, the Halo 3 battle rifle has a significant amount of spread that just makes it feel random at times. This can lead to very frustrating blood shots where it feels like you're aiming perfectly and they should have died. I get that you needed to nerf the battle rifle, but you kinda overdid it, Bungie. To me, this is the biggest detriment to Halo 3. It makes the gunplay feel sloppy and nowhere near as satisfying as previous games. It's still satisfying to get that 4-shot, but not like Halo 2 satisfying. In Halo 2, it rarely felt like there were outside reasons as to why you lost that BR duel. In Halo 3, it kind of regularly feels like that. To make things worse, a lot of maps in Halo 3 are focused more on ranged combat. The battle rifle at range is not a good feeling gun, which also adds to the increased frustration of the sniper rifle being all kinds of broken overpowered. Look, I know it's a power weapon and it's supposed to be powerful, but it feels a little too powerful just because you can't really properly contest it. Especially not on PC, where you don't need aim assist, and it doesn't matter if you're scoped or not. Which leads me to my next point. Playing this on PC is a little bit different. When it comes to Halo 2 on MCC on PC, aim assist with controllers is actually way too strong. It feels like you're at a disadvantage at mid-range if you're not using a controller. This is someone that is a longtime PC gamer and console gamer, and I am saying this. There's almost no other situation where a mouse just isn't better in every situation. But in Halo 2, I find myself actively using a controller because it kind of aims for me. I don't even have to try. Going into Halo 3, this sort of still exists, but nowhere near as bad, thankfully. This largely has to do with the fact that it's not hit scan, it is projectile based. At mid-range, it still kind of feels a little cheesy to be using aim assist. I was swapping back and forth between mouse and keyboard to test this out. But since the maps aren't quite as much mid-range as they are in Halo 2, this doesn't seem to matter as much. And to top all of this off, they gave us Forge. Halo 3 Forge and Halo Reach Forge. I've mentioned how much I don't like Halo Reach, it's just kind of not my thing, but I've always loved Reach's Forge. You can relive all those custom game modes that you had back in the day, or those racetracks that you did. Forge is amazing. Although unfortunately they still don't have the file browser. Why do I have to go to a certain player's profile to download their stuff there? Bring back the file browser, please. Anyway, that should have brought you up to date. Halo 3 on PC is a pretty good time. I still have so many memories about Halo 3. I love almost everything about that game. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. I'm around 25k short of 200k. I'm so close. If you would subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Thanks to all of you guys that joined me when I streamed this game for like 7.5 hours straight over on my Twitch, twitch.tv/JarekTheGamingDragon. Hey everyone. As always, Jarek here, and I don't know how I feel about ODST. There are parts of it that I love, and there are parts of it that I hate so much it makes me not want to play it again. And that's always how I felt about ODST. Conflicted. Let's start simple. I'm playing the PC release of ODST. If you came here just to figure out whether this is worth it or not to buy on PC, then yes, in my experience this is a very good port. In fact, I didn't even think about the fact that I was playing a port until someone mentioned it in my Twitch comments when I nearly beat the game. Mouse aiming feels smooth, you can change it to whatever resolution you want, there's an FOV slider, everything you'd expect to be there is there, so I have no real complaints. Don't take my word as the final be-all word though, I didn't do any research on how good the port really was, I'm just speaking from my personal experience. While we're on that subject, let's talk about the graphics. For the most part, there's actually not a whole lot to say. This game was originally supposed to be DLC for Halo 3, but ballooned into a much too big project to just be DLC, so it ended up being a standalone, not full $60 game, but definitely more than a DLC title. Point being, it uses Halo 3's engine, and for the most part, it looks like Halo 3. Except for New Mombasa. I'll talk about this more later, but seeing New Mombasa in this way is just gorgeous. There is so much attention to detail in this game. At the time, I distinctly remember really liking how New Mombasa looked. Keep in mind, the last time we saw New Mombasa was in Halo 2. Halo 3's engine is significantly better than Halo 2's. This was OG Xbox to Xbox 360. And now that we're playing it on PC with a higher resolution and unlimited frame rate, it really shows how good New Mombasa looks. There is so much attention to detail in every mission. And that's not even mentioning New Mombasa at night. I'll talk a lot about that later. So even though at its core the game engine is just more Halo 3, They really capitalized on the art direction they wanted to take this game. And I will tell you, there is something special about Marty O'Donnell's soundtrack playing in the background, this smooth jazz with neon lights being all alone in this dark city. This is one of the best video game atmospheres I've ever experienced. Bungie was all on board on this vision. This is definitely a cohesive experience. This is what I remember most about ODST, the part that I really enjoyed. The emotion of just feeling completely alone. I can't talk about it enough. Even when you aren't alone, it's just Covenant patrols, making it feel even more lonely. Like I said, I could talk about this forever, but I adore this part about ODST. Next we move on to the gameplay, and this is where I start getting some conflicted opinions. For a Halo game, it's a good campaign. The gameplay doesn't do anything offensively bad. I have a few small complaints. There's no battle rifle, which is odd. There is a carbine which takes its place, but it would be nice to be able to use a battle rifle. The ending segment driving on the highway lasts a little bit too long, and it's an escort quest, so this whole section isn't really that fun. There's too many defense sections, and in my opinion, the engineers have way too much health for their intended role. Engineers are flying aliens. They give all enemies near them extra shields. Taking them out is your first priority, except where they can fly away from you and they have a bit more health than they should. Something like this should be squishy, not tanky. But honestly, those complaints are sort of me nitpicking. They're not really big complaints. They certainly don't come close to destroying the gameplay. For the most part, this is just more Halo 3. And that's the thing I was most disappointed by. In ODST, you play as the Rookie, an orbital drop shock trooper, or an ODST. You aren't a superhero, you're not Master Chief, you're not the Arbiter, you're just a human. This does change things to the gameplay, but really not that much. You have fall damage now, unlike Halo 3. You don't have any shields, but instead you have stamina, which works basically the same way, you just get less of it. You have less health, so in general you're just squishier. Your melee attacks do less damage, so they're less reliable, and it feels like weapons have a little bit more recoil. Not much, just a little bit. So you really are just playing more Halo 3, but with a squishier protagonist. So Halo 2. Really though, this disappointed me. I expected a totally different experience. I expected something like, say, Republic Commando or Rainbow Six Vegas. Not just more Halo 3. Hell, you can even rip off turrets and still carry them around. What kind of human can do this? I'm still very open to the idea of them making an ODST spin-off of Halo developed by a totally different studio that's more of a tactical game in style. Again, imagine Republic Commando or Rainbow Six Vegas, but with ODST and co-op. That'd be awesome, and I'd be all down for that. It wouldn't get in the way of the mainline Halo games, because 343 would still be making those, and you'd just have a totally spin-off Halo game that anyone could enjoy at any time. You can see why I'm conflicted about this game. It's not bad, it's Halo, and I like Halo, but for the ODST thing they're going for, they could have just done so much more. And that leads me to the thing I'm disappointed with the most, the story. I'm going to talk about spoilers here, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, I would recommend leaving now. Okay, remember that lonely, depressing atmosphere I talked about towards the beginning of this game? Yeah, that's not indicative as to where the story goes at all. At the beginning of ODST, you prepare for a combat drop. You are dropping into New Mombasa during the events of Halo 2. This alone is an awesome setting for a game. Well, this happens right as that ship was warping out and sends everyone off course. The Rookie, the main protagonist you are playing as, gets knocked out and doesn't wake up until nighttime. You have no contact with any of your squad mates, you are completely alone. Now the gameplay here is actually a little bit different from what we're used to seeing when it comes to Halo. You have access to New Mombasa. You're able to explore wherever you want in this area, for the most part. The game makes sure you won't get lost by shoving a tutorial at you even if you're playing on Heroic, but more importantly you have a map and nav points. It's kind of open world, but it's more like a hub world than anything else. Anyway, you explore through this lonely, empty city listening to this amazing jazz, finding pieces of your squad members. Wow, that was phrased badly. Finding equipment or different pieces that your squad members were using, not their arms or legs or whatever. Once you find these items, it starts a flashback where you're playing through a level as that squad member. These levels play out pretty much just like Halo 3 levels. At the end of said level, it will explain how that piece of equipment that is now probably destroyed or broken got to where it was. Now, the safe assumption would be you're finding out how all your squad members died. You are all alone. Everything is so dark and depressing. And that was what I would have accepted. That would have been a great story. Instead, that's not what we got. We ended up getting a romance story where everyone's okay, even the guy that got stabbed by a hammer. Seriously, Romeo gets stabbed in the chest by a brute with a hammer, the sharp edge of it. They shove some magical foam into him, and he's okay. Now, I know the brunt of this hit was apparently stopped by the sniper rifle, but you're still gonna have a real fucked up chest no matter what here. You're gonna have a collapsed sternum, broken ribs. They even said he punctured a lung. Come on, that guy's dead. And then you got this going on.
Oh, Lord, that thing stinks. Kind of reminds me of like... What was that for?
Abandoning the mission.
What mission? You dropped off the grid. My squad was scattered. And that.
For coming back.
Yeah, Buck and Veronica for some reason have some romance story and history together. The way it's portrayed sounds more like a preteen drama though, and I hate everything about it. Seriously, this is the biggest complaint I have about ODST. The story and atmosphere for 90% of the game does not match the last 10%. It's like I'm watching a Disney movie, but the atmosphere is a war movie. Anyway, the real reason you're there is to grab one of the engineers, who is more or less a biological supercomputer and has way more information than you think it would have, and the UNSC could really use this information. None of this is explained to you until almost the end of the game, so it almost feels like all that exploring finding your squad mates was their original story until they changed their minds. None of this is enough to truly ruin the game, but it certainly is enough to leave me incredibly disappointed. There's so much they could have done with the story, there's so much they could have done with the gameplay with an ODST, and none of it reached what I wanted them to do or my expectations. We just kind of got a spin-off Halo 3 game that played exactly like Halo 3 with a story that left me disappointed. Now you see what I mean when I say I'm very conflicted on the game. I genuinely don't know how I feel about it. The gameplay is fun, the atmosphere is goddamn amazing, and I still listen to ODST music more than I actually play the game. But then all the negatives just kind of leave me feeling annoyed at what we could have had instead. I don't know where else to go here. I don't really have any conclusion or final statement, so I guess I'll just end the video. Hey everyone, as always Jarek here, and welcome to possibly I forgot the hat. Yeah, I remember. It doesn't matter that it's completely warm in this room and I turned the heater on for a long time and it's going to be really damn hot, but can't have a video without the hat. Okay, let's try that again. Hey everyone, as always Jarek here, and welcome to possibly the worst Halo game in the franchise. Now stop before you leave that angry comment down below. I know Halo 5 exists, but whether Halo 4 is the worst game in the franchise or not really depends on one question. How much do you value Halo multiplayer? I like it a lot, so for me Halo 4 is easily the worst. Don't worry, I'll be talking fully about multiplayer soon, but I want to cover the campaign first. Let's start where I usually do, the graphics. Now for a 2012 game, this game actually looks really good. But that's sort of a problem, because this was a late Xbox 360 exclusive, and the 360 could not handle this game. It ran at a sub 720p resolution, and it was supposed to be 30 FPS, but oftentimes that would devolve to 20, and sometimes your 360 would just explode. It did not run well. This was that time, that era, where every single game wanted to have extremely high resolution textures. This is also when the original Rage was have texture streaming problems, so it kind of makes sense. To explain it in a better way, the game looked too good for the Xbox 360. But that also doesn't say a whole lot, because that describes almost every game that came out on the 360 late in its lifespan. But that said, none of that really matters anymore, because Halo 4 is now on PC in the Master Chief Collection. And I'm pretty happy to say that the port is, in my experience, very smooth. Now, I'm not going to be doing a full breakdown of what this port offers. It does have a lot of enhancements over the base game, like all the other ports to the PC version do. The big thing I really want to stress, though, is that it feels so good finally being able to play this game at a native resolution that you want to see and a frame rate that stays stable. And I have to say, at 1440p this game looks really good. Yeah, it's kind of obvious that it's a bit of an outdated game, but still, it looks pretty impressive for what it is. But here is where we get into the bigger issue, and that's the art style. Personally, I think the art style for the environments look really nice. The game provides you with plenty of locations that will make you just want to stare off into the distance, or wonder what the whole place is for. This is the good in 343's art style. However, there's a big side of that that's bad. Unfortunately, 343 wanted to meddle with previous art styles, and this included entirely changing the enemies and Spartan armor. How does a bird-looking creature turn into a turtle? How did a grunt get uglier? What the hell happened to the elites? None of these things are explained in the game. They usually have a one-off line and then they're just brushed off and never mentioned again. And this is a good segue to the story, because right at the beginning of the game, you're attacked by an elite. Master Chief reasonably questions why an elite is attacking you. They were supposed to be in alliance with the Covenant. And Cortana just says,
"A lot can happen in 4 years. Either way, he's probably not alone. We should be careful."
Yeah, that doesn't help. That just raises more questions. For that matter, the story as a whole just leaves me very conflicted. I know how I feel about Halo 4's multiplayer. I've known that for years. But when it came to the campaign, I only beat it once or twice back in the day and then never touched it again. And my experience was a resounding meh. I just didn't really care. I never thought it was great and I never thought it was bad. I had some levels I remember not liking too much, and some I remember really liking. Not as much as the old Halo games, but liking more than hating. So I didn't know how that opinion would change when I came back into it. And when I came back into it, my opinion on the story is that I'm even more conflicted. If you're unaware, you were still playing as Master Chief in Halo 4. It's supposed to start years after Halo 3 and continue on with that story. Although the trilogy officially ended from Halo 1, 2, and 3, so this is an entirely new self-contained story, just in the same universe. That said, Halo 4 started the worrying trend that things would make a lot more sense if you knew about the lore behind Halo's universe. Basically, if you read the books, things would make more sense to you. And if you didn't, oftentimes the cutscenes would be an exposition dump that told you a lot of what's going on in the story, and they would raise more questions than answers. For the most part, you got what was going on, or at least what you really needed to understand to continue following along with the story, but there are so many things that just don't make sense unless you already know more. It should never be expected of the player that you need to go out of your way to understand more about the game. Stories should be self-contained. And I say this started the worrying trend because we all know how Halo 5 ended up in this regard. For the record, Halo 5's campaign is easily the worst in the franchise, and I'm not contesting that. So yeah, the story in Halo 4 has to do with the Forerunners, and as things usually go with the Forerunners, the story is a bit convoluted. I don't want to try to explain this. I feel like reading the Wikipedia page will do a much better job at explaining it than I ever could. But then there's also the extra little bit between Master Chief and Cortana. Cortana's AI is starting to break down. She's starting to go rampant. And this starts the awkward storyline between Master Chief dealing with this rampant AI losing her mind. Basically, Master Chief's got lady problems, is what I'm trying to say. And it's really odd seeing this in Halo. And once again, a lot of the things happening here just leave me with more questions than answers. The writing doesn't strike me as bad, just really out of place for what style of game this is. For that matter, the quality of writing on certain characters is kind of all over the place. For example, this guy here exists basically just to be a dick.
I understand what you think you saw.
Think?
With all due respect, sir, I know what I saw.
And with all due respect to you, soldier, I'm not willing to jeopardize my ship because of the hallucinations of an aging Spartan and his malfunctioning AI.
He has no character development, he has no point for existing. This guy's sole purpose is just to get in the way and be an asshole. We don't even know his motivation for doing so. He runs the Infinity ship, but it seems more like his writing is just to say no to anything anyone is saying to him. It does lead to this satisfying cutscene.
Commander Lasky, pursuant to Article 55 of UNSC Regulation 12-14572, I'm ordering you to remove that AI's data chip and retire it for final dispensation.
I don't want to. You don't want me to.
Remove
Please.
the chip now, Commander.
Please. I don't want to.
Give me that chip.
The didact has to be stopped. If you won't do that, I will.
I am ordering you to surrender that AI!
No, sir.
Lieutenant! Arrest that man!
Captain!
Arrest him!
Captain!
Get word to Earth that trouble is coming. Cortana and I will do what we can back here.
That almost makes up for his writing, but then you literally don't see him for the rest of the game. That's it. That's the conclusion of this character. Like, why does he even exist? What's the point? But then on the other side, you meet this scientist, and I did genuinely feel bad for her.
It's not a matter of choice. It took 3 months, and the biggest starship the UNSC could throw at it just to relocate it here. Unless you're a lot stronger than you look. It's not going anywhere.
Can you give Cortana access to the station's supply manifest?
What for?
If we can't move the composer, we have to make sure the Didact can't either.
Oh, wait. We have years of work invested here.
Inventory lists 7 excavation-grade Havoc mines. Just one of those would turn this base into a piñata.
I'm sorry, Doctor. Keep routing your people to the evac centers. Once we take care of the composer, you won't have much time.
I'll make sure the nukes are primed so you can detonate them remotely. Maybe next time you rescue us, you can give us more time to pack.
Next time.
It's not so that the writing itself of these characters is bad, it's just that it fails at pulling the emotions it's supposed to. They're trying to pull specific emotions, but there needs to be more reason other than, this guy is mean, you don't like him, be mad at him. Meanwhile with this scientist, I understand the problem, I understand her motivation. She put so much of her life into this research, and we're about to blow it all up because we don't have any other option. I'm going to feel bad for that. I understand her backstory, I understand her motivation. If a character is going to be a dick, you need to have something more to them other than just, they're a dick, and that's it. We did get a lot of good memes out of that cutscene though. And since this is relevant to the graphics, presentation, the story, the music, the problem I always had with Halo 4's music is that I just don't remember it playing in the game at all. Now, I did listen to the soundtrack outside of the game plenty in the past, and it's really good. But if you asked me, if you pointed out one track in the soundtrack and said, where does this happen in the game? I would not be able to tell you. Apparently, a reason for this problem is that the music was really quiet in the original 360 release. If that's the case, I can't confirm it, but it's plausible. With the PC port, this is definitely not the issue. I could absolutely hear the music, and it really is great. This is where I planned on playing some Halo 4 music for you. In fact, I edited an entire version of this video with entirely Halo 4 music in the background, uploaded it to YouTube, and then it got picked up a YouTube's ID system since Halo 4's music is apparently in YouTube's system. So I had to replace all that music with the music you're hearing now. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, YouTube. Trust me when I say the music's really good. Okay, now we can finally get to the gameplay. And for the most part, honestly, it still feels like Halo. It's still a mixture of guns, melee, grenades. But there is a few distinct changes they've made. For starters, they took that sprint armor ability that they had in Reach and just gave everyone sprint. This will matter for the multiplayer, remember that. For the campaign, it's fine. That said, the way they tried to balance in sprint was that they made it so that your shields take forever to recharge. Despite the fact that you can sprint at any time, Spartan abilities still came back in Halo 4, and these are pretty varied in what you'll get. The good news, and I remember being very happy about this when Halo 4 first came out, they got rid of armor lock. They replaced it with this light shield thing, which is way better. I still don't like Spartan abilities for reasons I'll talk about later, so again, keep that in mind. However, the thing I want to talk about the most, honestly, is the sound design. These weapons sound totally different from Bungie's weapons, and personally, in my opinion, I like 343's weapon sounds way more than Bungie's. They sound like actual weapons. Take the assault rifle, for example. Halo 3's assault rifle sounded pitiful. That's way better, and I don't see how anyone could argue otherwise, no matter how big of a fan you are of Bungie. And this is true across almost every single one of the weapons in the game. They sound more powerful. The only one exception I can say to this is I don't really like how the battle rifle sounds. It just sounds weird. It also looks a little weird, I'm not a huge fan of that, but it functions the same as the other battle rifles now. At launch, this wasn't the case. At launch, it was a 5-burst. Why? Thankfully, they did a weapon balancing patch that changed it back to a 4-burst as it should be. But the next major significant change they made to the weapons is that automatics suddenly became way more useful. Thank God. I have the uncommon opinion that I actually like automatics being useful. Keep in mind, I am into competitive Halo. I just like there being more weapon variety than only utility weapons. How much were you going to use the assault rifle in previous Halo games? To double melee someone in Halo 1? That's about it. The automatics do not ruin or replace the utility weapons. You still have the advantage if you have a battle rifle. I just want the assault rifle and other automatics to be a little more useful. And in the case of campaign, this is just a good thing. I don't see any downside to this. Next up come the enemies. You're fighting the Covenant again, which, you know, it makes no sense, but whatever, I'll handle it. They play pretty much as they always have, and the Covenant are still fun to fight. But the big additions are the Prometheans. Now, I remember these enemies actually being a lot bigger of a problem than I had now. I remember the Promethean Knights to be tanky bullet sponges that were just a pain to deal with. I remember those little dogs to be obnoxious as hell. I remember the armor guys to be hard to shoot. And then that's when I realized it. The only difference between then and now is that I was using a controller compared to a mouse and keyboard. Playing this game on a mouse and keyboard makes this game so much easier. Those fast little dogs running around are pretty much a non-issue with a mouse and keyboard. Just shoot them once in the head and they're done. The Promethean Knights can do a lot of damage, but again, it's a lot easier to be pretty precise shooting their head. And the Watchers that revive enemies and give passive buffs, they're a lot easier to deal with a mouse and keyboard than a controller. I distinctly remember the last few levels in Halo 4 being frustrating and annoying. Something more akin to, say, Halo 1's The Library, but not as bad. Coming back and playing it now, I'm just more indifferent about it. I didn't really struggle with it. I never struggled with it before, but I found it tedious before, whereas I didn't get that experience now. It just feels like another Halo 4 level. Not quite as good as the earlier ones, but I mean, not terrible. And to be honest, that's how I feel about the entire game. Yeah, it can look really good and the presentation's nice, but it never really has the heights of the previous Halo games. The story is pretty confusing, but it's also never terrible. How I feel about Halo 4's campaign is just sort of, it's fine, I guess. If we're just talking about campaign and if multiplayer does not matter, Halo 4 is not the worst in the franchise. That's Halo 5. But multiplayer does matter. Whether you play it or not, it's pretty important to me. So, Halo 4 sucks. Let's talk about the multiplayer. Halo 4 basically took every bad idea from Halo Reach and expanded upon it. Hey, you liked loadouts in your Halo game, right? No? Well, too bad, it's back and even more in-depth. Choose any weapon you want to spawn with, choose any armor ability you want to spawn with. There's a bunch of this stuff that doesn't need to be there. Being able to choose whatever weapon you want to is a huge problem. Halo's weapon sandbox was never made for this, and the balance goes out the window. It doesn't help that the weapons were already imbalanced even for a Halo game to start at launch. The DMR was comically overpowered, the battle rifle was a 5-burst for whatever reason, and since you could choose your secondary, you could spawn with a plasma pistol so you could always do noob combos, or, even better, you could spawn with a shotgun. Why? Fuck this bolt shot. This thing is the stupidest weapon they could have added. Now imagine in Halo 3 if you could spawn with any weapon you wanted, and you could spawn with a Mauler as a secondary. That would be kind of a big problem. Now imagine that Mauler has twice the range and it can get headshots if it wants. Yeah, that's effectively what they did with the Halo 4 bolt shot. I don't know why they let people spawn with this thing. It's a pseudo power weapon and entirely breaks the melee gun grenade triangle that Halo is known for. If you go to melee someone, there is always a risk they're going to have a bolt shot, and they probably do. Hey, you like people putting themselves in really terrible positions in Halo Reach and then sprinting away, right? Well, everyone has sprint now. Have fun dealing with that. Halo has always been about controlling power positions on the map and controlling power weapons. Well, with Sprint, a lot of that just doesn't even matter anymore. Speaking of, you like knowing what power weapons are on the map at any given time, right? So you can kind of predict what's going on? Well, Too bad. Everyone gets a certain amount of points, and then when they get that amount of points, they can call in any power weapon they want at random. The at random part is the biggest issue with Halo 4's multiplayer. A big reason why Halo was so competitive is because everything is predictable. Everyone spawns with the same weapons. Weapons spawn at the same place on the map at any given time. You can control them, you can move throughout the map, everyone is on equal footing. And Halo 4, this is just gone. Oh, and you know Bloom, right? The thing everyone really hated in Halo Reach? Well, thankfully they didn't bring that back, but now you don't get descoped. Cool. To be entirely honest, if the game wasn't named Halo 4 and instead was named Call of Duty Sci-Fi Edition, it might not be bad. But considering this is supposed to be a Halo game, it just doesn't work. Quickly, what I realized at the launch of Halo 4 was that 343 did not value what we valued in a multiplayer game. They wanted to experiment with things that nobody wanted. Thankfully, they realized that this was a massive mistake after the huge backlash Halo 4 got, and Halo 5's multiplayer, no matter how much you hate the campaign, the multiplayer was damn amazing. And that's the reason why I say Halo 4 is the worst Halo game. I value multiplayer more than campaign. It's what I'm going to be playing for hundreds upon thousands of hours after I beat the campaign. I'm not going to just play the campaign over and over again as much as I'm playing the multiplayer. The funny thing is I remember going to the midnight launch for Halo 4, being somewhat excited about it. At the time I lived pretty close to a local GameStop. That local GameStop was in a strip mall, and just across the parking lot was a Walmart also doing that midnight launch. Yeah, I went to that Walmart, got my copy immediately with like 10 other people, went back to GameStop, and there was still a huge line. Suckers. Anyway, moral of the story is that Halo 4 is just not a Halo game as far as multiplayer is concerned. They experimented with a lot of things that have no right being in this franchise. There was one more thing they tried to do. Spec Ops. Was it called Spec Ops? I don't even remember. There was an extra co-op mode that was supposedly supposed to add an entirely new story. And while that's interesting and you get a lot of new cutscenes and whatnot, the actual gameplay for it was, god, mind-numbingly boring. These co-op missions were basically the same missions repeated over and over again, except for sometimes you do one in reverse. They really weren't very fun. I seriously have nothing more to say about it. That's really all this mode was. If you want to, you can go to YouTube and watch all the cutscenes. You'd have a lot more fun doing that than actually playing the mode, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more worth mentioning when it comes to that mode. So, is Halo 4 the worst in the franchise? To me, yes, without a doubt. This multiplayer is so ungodly bad that it's worse than Halo 5's campaign. That's genuinely how I feel. I loved Halo 5's multiplayer, and that is more than worth it for me. Halo 4's campaign is not really worth it for me, and the multiplayer is terrible. So to me, it's the worst. Hey, Jarek here. I really don't want to make this video. I don't want to play through Halo 5's awful campaign again, and I'm really not looking forward to the inevitable toxic comments that come from me. It doesn't want to play. The inevitable toxic comments that come from me talking about Halo 5's multiplayer, because Halo fans just can't have a regular civil conversation. It always devolves into arguments and insults. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you would have seen that even just playing Halo 5 was a bit of a process. It's like the universe wanted to stop me from making this video. The last time I used my Xbox One was back when I made a video of Black on July 4th of 2019, so it's been over 2 years since I've used it. I have moved since then, so my Xbox One was sitting at the very bottom of my closet. I had no reason to use it. So I pulled my Xbox One out of the deepest parts of my closet, found a place on my desk to put it, plugged it in, and whoops, that was my roommate's. Hold on, let me go find mine. All right, I plugged that one in. It needed an update because I hadn't used it in 2 years. It took 30 minutes or so to update, and it gave me a black screen. All it did was tell me, hello, please sign in. And I couldn't do anything. Nothing I did worked. For a little bit, I thought my Xbox One was just bricked. I did some Googling online, and I found out I just need to factory reset it. So I factory reset my Xbox One, and then went through the process of trying to find my Halo 5 disc. I did find my roommate's Halo 5 box, which doesn't have a disc in it, so that didn't do me any good. I have kept all of my games in the same box for my entire life. Digging through this box, I found my original Pokemon Crystal box, my original Ruby, my original Emerald, my original Soul Silver box, which still has a brand new, unused, unopened Pokewalker in it, but I couldn't find my Halo 5 box. I continued the search for 40 minutes until I remembered, wait, my friend worked at 343 during this time, and he gave me a code to play Halo 5. So I had it digitally. So I went to the store, searched Halo 5, and it said I owned the game. The reason I didn't initially see it was because when I did a factory reset, it deleted all my games. So I started downloading Halo 5 and it was a 100 gigabyte download. Like I said, the universe just didn't want me to make this video. But it's the last Halo I need to cover, so I'm gonna make this video, damn it. Okay, before I completely tear into this game, I do have some positives I want to say about it because not everything is bad. The main thing I remember really liking from Halo 5 are the weapons. They sound awesome, the recoil is nice, the animations are very well done, and they have a nice effect on target. The next thing I can say is that I did really enjoy the multiplayer, but that's going to be its own section in this video, so stay tuned, I will talk about it. And that brings me to the graphics. The graphics actually do look quite good in Halo 5. They didn't skimp out on the artistic quality for sure. I found myself frequently just staring off into skyboxes in these big open areas, or maybe just looking at some really highly detailed rocks. With that said, this did come with a little bit of a downside. This game stayed at 60 FPS, and it scaled the resolution to stay at 60 FPS. It also did a lot of other things to make sure that frame rate never dropped. The result is that enemies at a distance look like Doom sprites, and anytime something serious is going on, there's horrible jaggies everywhere. While yes, this doesn't look good, I can palate it, because I would much rather have 60 FPS in a first-person shooter than the game looking really nice but with having terrible frame rates. We moved away from the 360 to go to the Xbox One. I expect this to be 60 FPS. But here's where I really start having problems, because while graphically, yes, it looks nice, the art style is awful. Like I said in my Halo 4 video and touched on in my Halo Infinite video, 343 felt the need to change the art style for everything for I don't know what purpose. We had an entire franchise with established enemies and weapons and an established art style, and 343 just undid all of it. Spartan armor looks more like Power Rangers than it does Halo. It also looks like it's made entirely of plastic instead of metal. The weapons are very hit or miss. I actually like most of the Promethean weapons, mostly because we didn't have any preconceived notion as to what they should look like beforehand, and they are pretty cool just kind of floating together. The Covenant weapons are more hit or miss. I mostly don't have complaints about them, but oh boy, these UNSC weapons are all over the place. I actually love the design of both the pistol and the assault rifle. The pistol looks like a small version of the CE Magnum, and it also feels like one. It feels like a pocket DMR, and that's great. The assault rifle is by far the best assault rifle we've ever had in Halo. It actually acts like an assault rifle. This doesn't invalidate your precision weapons, but it does give you a viable option at medium range. Also, in my opinion, this is the best looking assault rifle we've gotten in the whole franchise. The battle rifle looks a little bit funky, although I can't say I hate it, I just don't like it. The DMR looks ugly as hell, and what the hell did they do to the rocket launcher? Why did we go backwards here? Why did we go from an awesome futuristic looking rocket launcher to basically what we have now with a side-loading magazine? Wait a minute. Oh, you son of a bitch. But by far the most egregious and annoying changes they made were to the Covenant themselves. Grunts look ugly as hell compared to the way they used to. Jackals now suddenly turn into turtles instead of these dinosaur bird things. And the thing that annoys me the most is how they changed elites. Elites used to be these slender, agile, yet strong warriors. But the changes 343 made them more hunchback and overall just look uglier. I know that part's subjective, but it gets worse than that. This changed their body language entirely. They suddenly don't seem so agile anymore. They walk more like brutes than they do elites. Thank God they got rid of this in Halo Infinite. In fact, we can use Infinite as a good example here. Look how this elite is moving in Halo 5. These elites look clumsy. Now look how this elite is moving in Halo Infinite. This is way more in line with how the elites initially were in Halo 1, 2, and 3. Next, we'll talk about the story. Oh my god. Halo 5's story is a complete mess. From the very opening cutscene, I didn't like the tone. I'm pretty sure the way they wanted me to react to this is to like freak out and go, oh look, Spartans being badasses, this is so cool, but instead my reaction to this is, one, why the hell am I not doing this in game? Why am I not playing the game? And two, this is so cringy. Like, this is like someone's fanfic of like, look how badass Spartans are, look how cool they are. I'm like, no, it's just dumb. Compare this to the way Halo Infinite opened the game, where Master Chief's literally getting the shit kicked out of him. It's like, look at all this cool stuff that you will just never do in game. It's almost like this is what 343 wanted Halo 5 to be. This tone does not fit Halo. This tone fits Power Rangers. On top of that, this game commits the sin of expecting you to know characters with no introduction. The only way you will know whoever the hell this whole squad is if you read the books. And it gets worse if you read the books, because there's so many plot points that it just throws out in the books and makes new ones, which were then completely forgotten when we moved to Halo Infinite. Like, seriously, who is Osiris Team? The only person here people will recognize is Buck, but he suddenly went from being an ODST to a Spartan, so it gives you more questions than answers. And this gets even worse when you're playing as Master Chief. Who the hell is Blue Team? They had no part of any game before, you had to read the books. The only introduction this game gives you to Blue Team comes way later in the game, with Osiris Team talking about Blue Team.
I understand the Master Chief disobeying orders to find Cortana, but why the rest of Blue Team? They didn't know her.
The members of Blue Team grew up together in the Spartan 2 program. They've registered more operations than any other fire team in the UNSC.
They're family.
Exactly.
That's it! That's all you have to go off of. Not that any of it would really help. The writing in this game is pretty poor. Even Master Chief doesn't really act like himself.
Chief, Dr. Halsey sent us. We're here to help you.
How the hell are you here?
To make things even worse, the trailers hyping Halo 5 up were talking about hunting Master Chief, or being on Master Chief's side and hunting Locke. This is supposed to be a Spartan versus Spartan conflict.
All hail the conquering hero. The one who was supposed to save us all. But now I must save us. From you.
None of this happens in the game. In all reality, Master Chief is hunting Cortana, whereas Locke is trying to get to Master Chief. And those missions where you're playing as Locke do nothing to the story. And that's vast majority of the game. You play as Master Chief for 3 missions. One of my viewers on Twitch went out of their way to see how long you played as Master Chief compared to Locke. The game is pretty short, keep in mind. 3.5 of those hours you're playing as Locke. 1.5 of those hours you're playing as Master Chief. This means that 1.5 of those hours actually does something to the plot. Kind of. Even then, the entire plot basically consists of Cortana's going mad and about to do some really evil shit. Master Chief's gotta stop her. Meanwhile, on Locke's side, he's just trying to get to Master Chief. Once he finally does get to Master Chief, he's trying to stop him, but that just leads to this awkward cutscene where you're doing hand-to-hand combat. This results in nothing happening, and then Locke tries to find Chief again with the whole point of helping Chief. So what was the point of the trailer showing Halo 5 off? That initial story didn't happen. Missions will find you going from one world to the next with absolutely no context, and it doesn't further the story in any way whatsoever. Hell, in the very first mission, you kill some big important elite that was built up in a cutscene. I like that they make a big deal about this elite. You know, he's been a character in Spartan Ops forever, and then they kill him off in a cutscene. You know? Like, why couldn't you make it a boss fight? Why couldn't you do something special with it? But no, instead, look at these badass Spartans doing badass things, and these elites are a joke. They're so easy to kill. Like, no, that's never how this has worked. You'll also find yourself going to a Forerunner world that looks beautiful, may I mind you, but quickly after you find yourself going to Sanghelios during the Covenant Civil War. Quite literally, all of these situations could have been their own game. They also do no world building leading up to it. It's just some pretty looking environments, but you don't really know anything more going on. My question is always, what the hell is happening? Why am I here? It actually makes me kind of mad because I'd love a game focused on the Covenant Civil War. That would work perfectly. Although it probably wouldn't work the best for marketing because you do need that Spartan on the box to sell. Just let me dream. Let me have a spin-off or something. Anyway, the point is, even though they show off these grand worlds and grand environments, there's not really any world building or any motivation to actually be there. Which is unfortunate because Halo has always excelled at that. At the end of the day, the whole point of Halo 5's story was to show off that Cortana has come back, her rampancy has been fixed by her gaining access to the Forerunner network, and what she wants to do is have the AI take over the mantle of responsibility. Which is a problem in its own right, because although Halo 4 briefly touched on the mantle of responsibility, if you only played the games, this is just going to confuse you. Like, I didn't understand the deep history of Halo and all of that until I looked up a video on Halo's timeline, and then I really understood what the mantle of responsibility was. The too long didn't read is that Cortana is offering peace, and anyone that fights against her dies. And that's why she's grabbing all of these Guardians, as they're called. Each one on their own can police an entire solar system. That concept for a story is actually pretty good. And after playing through both Halo 4 and Halo Infinite in the last month, my only question is, what the hell happened? And I don't have an answer here. Like, 343 really just messed up. It seemed like the game did not have any direction at all when it came to the campaign. It almost seems like the plot was changed numerous times during its development, which I wouldn't be surprised. That would explain the trailers. Hell, even small things that would make fans happy just don't exist. At the end of the game, Master Chief is reunited with the Arbiter, and they don't even show a response. Come on, the last thing the Arbiter knew about Master Chief is that he was just gone, warped to some dark part of space at the end of Halo 3. But instead, you get a really stupid line from Halsey, and that's it. Speaking of messing up, that leads me to the music. Halo 5 is the only game that has a soundtrack that's totally forgettable. Again, this is confusing because Halo 4, while having an okay campaign at best in my opinion, the music was still quite good, even if I didn't really remember when it played in-game. Halo 5, there's just no good music. The only good track I can think of in Halo 5 used the motif from 117, a song in Halo 4. And this is even more baffling because the composer for Halo 5 was the composer that made that song 117. So it's not like he doesn't have the talent. So what do I mean by the music being forgettable? Well, most of it sounds like the same 5 to 10 second loop played over and over. It sounds like very generic video game music. The only good track in the game plays at the main menu. Every Halo game has some part of its music, something that your brain hears, instantly stops, and wants to start crying. Halo 5 lacks that entirely. This is almost more disappointing than the game itself being bad, because I can constantly listen to a soundtrack to a game, but I can't constantly play a game. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to Halo soundtracks, they're very good. This one's just a bit of a blemish. Combine that this repetitive music fits the repetitive gameplay, and it does make your brain want to cry, but not out of fondness, but instead out of frustration. What really sucks about the gameplay of Halo 5 is that there is a really good foundation. The guns and movement actually feel great. Your ability to sprint, slide, jump, boost, ground pound, all of these things should lead to a deeper game. Unfortunately, none of the levels are really made to be able to take advantage of this. You can play this game without using these abilities once and it would change nothing. And that's unfortunate because this does give you quite a bit of advanced movement. Here's one of the few spaces where you can actually use it. See, if I want to reach to the other side, I can't reach there by jumping, but instead I can jump, start my ground pound, and then boost to it. If you play multiplayer, there are plenty of places to do stuff like this, but none of the campaign. They clearly were not designed with this in mind. What's really frustrating is that some of these levels are still kind of fun. The levels that were the most fun in this game were the ones that had a little bit of verticality to them. Say the first Master Chief level on that ship, or the levels on Sang Helios. However, when your peak is just kind of fun, that doesn't bode well for the game. Most of the time, you're going to be doing one of three things. You're going to be in an escape sequence, you're going to have to destroy a certain amount of objectives, usually 4 or 5, or you're going to be doing tower defense. The most boring of them all. Oh, but there's a fourth thing you might be doing. Fighting Warden Eternal. This motherfucker shows up 7 times in the game. How do you have one boss for the whole game and recycle it 7 times? It's not even an intricate boss, you just shoot him until he dies. And the last time you have to fight 3 of him. Even better, that last boss, after you beat him, stairs kind of materialize out of nowhere, and this can kill you and set you back to the last checkpoint before you killed him. That happened the first time I played this game.
What?
Is that it?
What killed me? Are you kidding me?
The most frustrating thing about Warden Eternal is the fact that Cortana in a cutscene just wisp him away. He's just gone. Why didn't you do that the 7 times I had to fight him? Warden Eternal is the best example I can come up with for this entire game. It feels like filler and it just keeps going and going. The last 2 levels are the most egregious when it comes to this. The second to last level sees you fighting on the same corridors, fighting the same Prometheans over and over. It just doesn't end. Until it does, then you have a cutscene with Cortana, which feels like the final cutscene of the game, and then another entire level happens where you're playing as Locke. It feels like the game finished 40 minutes ago. And on this level, you have to destroy 5 things, one of which is stuck behind a barrier, which confused me. You can't walk through this barrier, and in every other Halo game, you had to shoot the thing on the backside of the barrier to destroy it. As it turns out here, you can just shoot through the damn barrier. What? This is the only time you have to do that in this game. Why? At least be consistent. And then after that, the game ends with a defense section that just keeps on going forever. Finally, when it stops, it ends with a cutscene that's just a big to be continued. This story was so bad that Halo Infinite basically erased all of it with the exception of Cortana's involvement. That's all you need to know. I guess I'm obligated to talk about the AI here. They did advertise it as being this big core pillar mechanic of the game, but it really doesn't change anything. You have your Spartan squads with you at any given time, and you can command them, except in all reality, this just means tell them to go to a location, tell them to attack a certain enemy, or tell them to pick up a weapon. This AI is incredibly stupid, so they're not going to be of any use to you when it comes to actually attacking enemies. In fact, the only time I ever told them to target an enemy was just so I could make that enemy look at them instead of me. And even then, half the time that didn't work. They can revive you if you get downed, which is something that is incredibly inconsistent to begin with. Sometimes I can be revived, sometimes I can't. It makes sense with the Promethean weapons because there's nothing left of you to be revived, but other times I get downed and it just loads the last checkpoint. Like, what? Why couldn't I be revived this time? Anyway, it doesn't really matter because this AI is so goddamn stupid that they probably won't get to you in time, or they'll just stand over you and not revive you. Really, the only thing you'll use this AI for is to tell them to pick up a weapon that you want to use later. This definitely makes defeating Warden Eternal a lot less of a pain if you can tell them to pick up an incineration cannon for you to use when you run out of ammo. That is assuming they stay alive. When they get downed, you can revive them, but if you don't revive them in time, then they die and respawn and they'll no longer have that gun. So even when they're being useful, they're somehow still being useless. Needless to say, the campaign is egregiously bad. By far the worst in the Halo franchise. There was no focus for this campaign. I'm willing to bet that it changed numerous times throughout its development. In fact, the best analogy I can come up with is it kind of felt like Spider-Man 2. There was so much going on that everything suffered for it. And that's in stark contrast to Halo 5's multiplayer, because Halo 5's multiplayer had a very clear focus. They learned from Halo 4's mistakes. The problem was, the focus was a little too intense. When Halo 5 first launched, there was only competitive game modes. The goofy stuff that casuals knew, Infection, Team Action Stack, Grip Ball, none of that was there. It didn't even have Forge on launch either. Now, I'm more of a competitive player, although I do appreciate the casual playlist as well, so I wasn't really too hurt by this. I was addicted to what they did with Slayer, and I was very happy. And eventually we did get those modes. Not only did we get those modes, but I would argue those modes were improved from what they used to be. Take Infection, for example. Infection previously used to be very simple. One person has a sword, he infects someone, they get a sword, it continues until only one person is left, the other team has shotguns. There you go. In Halo 5, though, they changed it pretty drastically, but not so much to where it didn't feel like Infection anymore. Scattered throughout the map were regular weapons. This left people scrambling to different parts of the map instead of just finding the one really good place to hold out and then camping there. Infection feels really different when you have the ability to pick up a light rifle or an SMG or just anything, or even the CE Magnum. Again, this alone solved the problem of everyone camping in one spot, the best spot to camp, and having the Infection have a really hard time. But on top of that, Forge eventually came out, and I would easily say has the best Forge we had ever seen in Halo. Halo 5's Forge was so in-depth that every single Infection map was made specifically for Infection. This really did feel like its own game mode, and that could be said for virtually everything that got added. This includes Team Action Sack. Maybe you'd play Snowball, where everyone only had plasmas, and that was the only way to kill them.
Stickies only. Is it? Oh my goodness. Throw all the grenades. Oh. I have no grenades. I got you.
You killed yourself.
No, I stuck you.
Maybe you'd play Husky Raid, which was just capture the flag Fiesta, but with one lane.
Oh, they're walking up now. Yeah. Grenades, please. I got this, Jarek. Rush.
Maybe you'd play Minotaur, which is a maze with moving walls, and the infected have mechs. Like, Halo 5 had such an awesome custom game setup, I really can't rant about it enough. There was so much fun in this game. Hell, I even really liked the paintball style mode. Health was reduced to feel more like Halo Combat Evolved levels in this mode, and your entire team had 1 life per round. But rounds were so quick it never felt like you were sitting there waiting to play. The maps were also 3-lane based, and since it was based off rounds, people would generally get into the same habits, and then you would exploit them and they would never adapt. Like, it was just really fun. And then we get to the more regular Slayer variants and the more normal competitive modes, which is where I spent most of my time. And this is really where I think Halo 5 shined. They removed all of the nonsense we saw in Halo 4. There's no custom loadouts, there's no equipment, there's no Spartan abilities. Everything was centralized to everyone having the same thing. I shouldn't say there were no Spartan abilities, but everyone had the same ones. And this is usually where people start arguing. I have to say something right away. There's a lot of people that argue against Halo 5 yelling that 343 killed Halo that haven't even played Halo 5. And there are clear red flags for who these people are. Now, I don't necessarily fault them for not playing Halo 5. I mean, the Xbox One didn't do very good. Halo 5 was only on the Xbox One, and that's not incentive enough to buy an Xbox One, even if you love Halo. Combine that with its campaign actually being awful, and why would you think anything else? Hell, I don't even want that thing on my desk. After I get done making this video, I'll probably put it under my desk in the corner of shame. I mean, that doesn't look good. It just looks like a big, ugly VCR on my desk. I don't necessarily use my 360 very much, but it looks good. And I have good memories about it. I don't really have fun memories about my Xbox One. Anyway, as I was saying, people generally come up with the same argument if they've never played Halo 5 or only played the multiplayer for a few hours. That argument is, this game plays like Call of Duty now. There's ADS and sprint. This game sucks. 343 killed Halo. I get so tired of hearing this. For starters, while there is an animation to aim, this is not ADS. You still get descoped. And while you can aim with every weapon in the game, including automatics, that doesn't make them outperform precision weapons. The closest you get to that is the assault rifle, which caused its own argument. Again, this did not outperform precision weapons at range. It was the jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none weapon. It was pretty damn good at close to medium range, but still the battle rifle was going to beat it, so was the DMR, so was the pistol at range. This was until they did a weapon balancing update where they gave it headshot damage and did buff it a little too much, so keep that in mind. However, if you listen to people talking about that patch, they act like the game was ruined and unplayable, which is, I just don't agree with it, that's just exaggerating. Anyway, the ADS thing in my mind is a complete non-issue, and people only complain about it if they haven't played it. The next one is Sprint, which is a lot more nuanced. If you haven't played Halo 5, I would completely understand why you would immediately look at Sprint and go, why? However, Halo 5 balanced in Sprint compared to Halo Reach and Halo 4. If you are sprinting, your shields will not recharge. Not only does your shields not recharge, but it resets the timer for it to recharge, which you can see above your shields. Effectively, this means you are going to be put on your back foot if you try to just turn and run away. On top of that, you can't start sprinting if you're getting shot. To me, these were reasonable changes, and I saw no problem with sprint once they added them in. In fact, movement in Infinite affects combat way more than the movement in Halo 5. While yes, sprinting is a little slower in Halo Infinite, the general walk speed is much faster, especially strafe speed. This drastically affects face-up gunfights. The only real argument against sprint that I see pop up that actually does make a bit of sense is that since you can move so much faster, the maps had to be made bigger. With that said, I feel that this is totally overblown. Take the Midship remake, for example. I still think the Midship remake in Halo 5 is really good. In fact, and this might be heresy to say, but I actually prefer the Halo 5 versions over Halo 2 and 3 versions. Now, when I'm defending Sprint, this isn't to say Sprint is an awesome thing and Halo needs Sprint. I could take it or leave it. I'm totally indifferent with it existing. I'm just so tired of people taking small things in Halo 5 and blowing them out of proportion and saying the whole game is garbage. And again, a lot of the time it's really obvious when these people haven't played Halo 5 or only played it for a few hours. Believe it or not, these people are far from the majority. They're just very loud and it gets very tiring. Most people saw it for what it was, a vast improvement over Halo 4 and the best multiplayer we had seen since Halo 3. Everyone spawned with the same thing. Weapons were finally balanced. Automatics were finally useful, but not overpowered, just very useful within their respective ranges. I was also fine with that. I will die on the hill that Halo 5 is and feels like a proper Halo game when it comes to the multiplayer. The problem it has is that it doesn't look like a Halo game. And that is really important. This is why we've seen so many people praising Infinite and claiming that Halo 2 and 3 is back, when in all reality, Halo Infinite really doesn't feel like Halo 2 or 3, it just looks like Halo 2 or 3. The reality is that Halo Infinite is an evolution of Halo 5. While Infinite definitely has more of the soul of Halo 2 and 3 than Halo 5 does, Halo 5 still feels like Halo more to me than Halo Infinite does. This is not me saying Halo Infinite is bad, by the way. If you watch my review, you know I absolutely love Infinite, and I think that's a good direction for Halo to go. But Halo 5, despite the way it looks, is definitely a Halo game. And I really hate how I have to be so defensive about a game that I absolutely love. I really wish Halo 5 was on PC so that I could keep playing the multiplayer. And while I'm on the topic of defending the game, I need to talk about Warzone and Rec Packs. Warzone is a game mode that I really did not like. This was effectively what Big Team Battle turned into initially for Halo 5 before they actually added Big Team Battle. Except for this isn't Big Team Battle, it's more like Halo beats a MOBA. There are certain points on the map that each team needs to take over. There are certain AI on the map that you need to kill to get extra points. If your team gets more points, you get access to the next tier of weapons, and you get a ton of different variants of these weapons through Rec Packs. People really did not like Rec Packs when they initially came out. Personally, I didn't care, like they didn't bother me. Well, yes, it's kind of annoying to have your cosmetics limited to random loot drops, but the game gave you so many Rec Packs just for playing the game that I never felt like I needed to buy anything. And most importantly to me, as someone that didn't give a shit about Warzone and didn't want to play it, All these rec packs were really doing was putting more money into development. The money from these rec packs either went into tournament pop bonuses, or they went to the development team to make more content. At the time, it was still common practice to just have DLC go buy more maps or whatever. So as someone that doesn't really care about cosmetics very much, and had no interest in playing Warzone, and had no interest in buying rec packs, to me, it was just giving me a bunch of free content. I can understand not liking it and all that stuff, but so many people exaggerated how much of a problem they were and claimed that they ruined the entire game, when in all reality they affected Warzone and cosmetics and had literally no impact on the other game except for giving us new content. But I do actually have one thing I really want to complain about when it comes to Halo 5. That's the aim. Controller aim in this game feels awful. If you played Halo Infinite recently, you know exactly what I mean. It's the same aiming system. If you push your analog stick down a certain amount, it suddenly would change your speed. Not slowly over time like acceleration, it just suddenly does, like there's two sensitivities in one. The way to help mitigate this is to lower your dead zone to 0, but this doesn't remove it entirely. So yeah, it's really frustrating to be fighting your aim more than you're fighting your opponent, and Halo Infinite has the same problem. Once you do find the correct settings, it becomes a lot better, but again, you never truly mitigate the problem. It's still there. Man, those are complaints I've held in for years. I think now that I finally got them out, let's go to the conclusion. Halo 5 is a very weird game. Its single player clearly lacked any sort of focus and is easily the worst in the franchise, while its multiplayer had a very clear goal from day one, and the result is a very polished experience that I adore. Is Halo 5 worth playing for you? Well, this ultimately depends. Do you only care about the campaign? Then God no. But if you like multiplayer at all in any way, Halo 5 is 100% worth playing. Hey, Jarek here. I'm just here for the intro. It has been a long time since we've had a truly good Halo campaign. Halo Reach was fine. Halo 4 was okay. Halo 5 didn't happen. We don't talk about that. In my personal opinion, the last truly, fully 100% awesome Halo game was Halo 3. This is not coming from someone that's a huge Bungie fanboy by any means. I mean, I still love Halo 5's multiplayer, but everything has been so hit or miss with Halo over the last decade or so. And you could make that argument for the multiplayer in Halo Infinite, but in a different way. Don't worry, I will talk about the multiplayer, but first, we need to get through the campaign. I guess we'll start with the most obvious thing. They finally reverted the art style back to classic Halo art style, thank God. While I don't hate Halo 4's campaign, and while I absolutely love Halo 5's multiplayer, the art style in those games just look like butt. I don't know why they felt the need to take artistic liberties when it came to Halo. No one asked for this change, but they did anyway, and I'm so glad that they got rid of it. Now, Halo Infinite doesn't have the most high-tech engine. You're not getting RTX lighting or anything of the sort, but it still manages to look so damn beautiful. It is so hard to undersell how much an art style can carry your game. I spent so much of my time just looking off into the distance on this Halo ring. In a way, exploring this big Halo ring, getting lost and just spending so much time doing nothing important. This is kind of what I feel like Bungie wanted with Halo Combat Evolved. But okay, enough of worshipping the art style. How does the game run? Well, on PC, all the options are there that I would want. Yes, that includes an FOV slider. And honestly, I don't really have any complaints. In my case, with my specific build, I didn't have any crashes and the game ran great. But I also may not be a good benchmark as I'm running with a 3080. I do have friends that crashed a lot in the multiplayer, and I'll talk about that later. I don't know how they're doing in the campaign, so I can say my own experience and that's about it. Tied in with the presentation is the audio and the music. And I am so happy we got the music we did. When I heard that 343 hired Gareth Coker as their composer, I went insane. For those of you that don't know, Gareth Coker is the same composer that worked on Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Those two games have some of the best video game soundtracks I have ever heard in my life, right up there with the original Bungie trilogy. And that says a lot. Very few games have the ability to make my brain pseudo-cry at the main menu. Ori and Halo are two of those games. But the reason I was so excited goes farther than that. The way Gareth Coker worked with the Ori team is the same way that Marty O'Donnell worked with the original Halo team. It's very clear that this composer is someone that's part of the sound design team, not just a random composer they hired to make a few songs. Not only that, but the music he made for Ori, this music that invokes some sense of wonder, fits Halo so well. In fact, I've not been playing Halo music this whole time. This is Ori music. And when you swap over to Halo music, you can feel his influence right away. Sorry, I'm gushing a lot. This makes me very happy. I'm gonna be listening to the soundtrack for a long time. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the story a little bit. Halo 5 is something we don't talk about, but it didn't really leave Halo off in a good place. That story was a total mess, and it ended in a massive cliffhanger. Not only did the game fail, but no one cared about the story they were trying to tell. So what do you do? In the case of Halo Infinite, you basically scrap everything Halo 5 tried to do with the exception of one plot point: Cortana. There's a pretty sizable gap between the end of Halo 5 and the beginning of Halo Infinite. But the characters of Halo 5 really aren't important. The only thing you need to know is that Cortana went crazy trying to get AI to take over the mantle of responsibility. Well, at the beginning of Halo Infinite, Chief gets thrown out into space and is just drifting alone, until he is eventually found. This new buddy takes you to a new Halo ring called Zeta Halo, and here you will find a new AI called Weapon. The purpose of this AI was to find Cortana, contain Cortana, and let UNSC take Cortana back. Once Weapon did this, she was then to delete herself. Well, she is still here, so clearly something went wrong. You find all this out right at the beginning of the game, so this isn't spoilers. I'm not really interested in spoiling a brand new game. People probably clicked on this review to just see what I felt about it and whether or not it is worth their money, so I won't spoil anything. One of the things I've noticed people are very worried about is the new dialogue between this new AI and Master Chief. I myself was worried about this. I thought maybe this character might end up being one of those quote-unquote quirky characters like, say, Tiny Tina in Borderlands that drive me insane. Thankfully, this is not the case. I actually found this character to be pretty funny. I'm not rolling on the floor, but, you know, I'm getting a chuckle every once in a while. And the interactions Master Chief has with people fits Master Chief perfectly. Master Chief as a character has always said exactly what he needed to. He's never spoken too much, he's never spoken too little.
These are the banished.
Drop it.
Affirmative.
They smell even worse than I imagined.
How can an AI smell?
Smell them.
Well, an array of sensors in your armor can, and I analyze the input. You smell fine, by the way.
He's to the point, and his one-liners fit the situation that's happening. So yeah, if there's one thing that surprises me, the writing is actually pretty good, which I didn't know that 343 could pull off. Anyway, Cortana is pretty much the main plot point, but that's not to say there aren't other characters and other important things happening in the story. Now, if you played Halo Wars, you're already well aware of the Banished. I didn't play Halo Wars. I'm pretty much only aware of the Banished because of all the trailers and the E3 footage and all that stuff. Anyway, they function as the primary bad guys in this game, which is actually great. This gives me a reason to shoot brutes, elites, jackals, grunts, all the enemies I've known to love, without it not making any sense. They didn't pull another Halo 4 when Elite attacks you and they wave it off by Cortana saying, well, a lot can happen in a few years. Yeah, that doesn't explain anything. Oh, also, all of the Banished talk now. Like, all of them, including jackals, which never really speak English. It's very odd, and I'm kind of okay with it. I think the grunts are personally my favorite. Their voice lines are hilariously stupid. Did you say got some gun for you? And holy shit, I want to know who did the voice acting because they totally killed their voice. So yeah, the Banished are the main big bad guy villains you'll see on the box art and all that stuff. But there's also another faction, and I'll leave this be a mystery for when you finally play the game. And with that, we move right on to the gameplay. Halo Infinite takes a step away from what we already know when it comes to Halo. Kind of. Halo Infinite is now an open world game. But before you panic, the story missions are more your traditional linear Halo campaign missions. And to me, I'm very happy about this. This is the best of both worlds. I love open world stuff, but I also love Halo's usual level designs. Linear can be great when it's done well, and I always thought Halo did a pretty good job at this. But at the same time, I also thought Halo did a fantastic job when it tried to branch out and be more open. Combat Evolved is a perfect example. Some of Halo's best levels come from its first game. Ironically, some of Halo's worst levels also come from its first game. It was experimental. Anyway, I would argue the best Halo level of all time is the Silent Cartographer. At its core, this level allows you to go in any direction you want, at your own pace, and explore however you want. The same thing can be said of the second level in Combat Evolved, the level titled Halo. Being able to explore a Halo ring with Halo's weapons and Halo's enemies is just a dream come true. There's enough world building to where it just doesn't feel like another open world game and you're going through the motions doing the same thing over and over again. As much as I love Far Cry, that's a game that is just based on a formula, and I like that formula, but it's not really reinventing anything, at least not nowadays. What I'm basically saying is that Halo doesn't have to reinvent things here. Halo is the perfect mix where taking an open world idea, just sort of works. And it does have some bit of a formula, but it's kept interesting. In each area, there is a fob you need to take over. This involves taking down any enemies in the area and then pressing a button, and this will now allow you to either spawn weapons and vehicles. This will also show a bunch of objectives in that area. These other objectives may be just needing to help and rescue other UNSC soldiers. It may be taking down and destroying a foundry that the Banished is using to try to make more weapons. It may be revealing Spartan cores, which you really want to collect. I will explain why in a bit. Or it could be my personal favorite, an assassination. This will get you access to certain mini-bosses. Really what this means is that you'll need to kill a grunt with more health or shields, or a brute with more health or shields. It's a special enemy that you need to kill. The reason I like this so much is because it will give you access to a special variant of weapon. So just like the rec variants in Halo 5, you may find, say, a battle rifle that is suddenly really strong. Holy shit! Or you may get a mangler that fires more than one shot. The mangler traditionally firing just a single slug. This is not the mauler, it's very different. Or you may find a skewer that fires explosive stakes. I think you get the idea. This will give you access to fun new toys, and I'm so glad they brought back different variants of weapons. But about those Spartan cores I mentioned, those are used to upgrade your abilities. I would highly advise you to upgrade your grappling hook right away. With this being an open world game, you are going to be doing a lot of traveling. Don't worry, you can still fast travel, but it's just so fun to use this grappling hook. This addresses a big reason why people get so bored with open world games so quickly, but don't even realize why. An open world game is going to get very boring if getting from point A to point B is boring and takes too much time. A grappling hook is an easy band-aid. I mean, Just Cause figured this out forever ago.
Where did you go? There.
And when you upgrade this grappling hook in Halo Infinite, it's more fun than driving vehicles around. On top of that, the last two upgrades will effectively give you a ground pound. The last upgrade also stuns any enemy nearby. So yeah, use this grappling hook a lot, it's really good. This isn't to say the other upgrades you get aren't good, they definitely are. For example, you'll also get that drop wall that you have in the multiplayer that you can shoot through. And you also get the thruster pack. One of the other upgrades is simply making your shield more effective, which is kind of boring, but useful. Really, my biggest complaint I have with this system is that the way you equip these abilities is by pressing the button that it's assigned to, then pressing the use ability button. I don't understand this. For example, in the case of the thruster, it would have been way more helpful to have a button assigned to the thruster that would use it immediately so I don't have to swap to it. Having to press 3 or 4 just to swap to what I want to use instead of just pressing 3 to immediately grappling hook makes no sense to me. Or just let me double tap to use it, that would also work. I feel like this is something they didn't really think through on the PC version because I don't think there's any way you could actually do that on the console version with a controller. Still though, I have a keyboard, let me push all the buttons I have, let me use all of them. Anyway, I'm serious in saying that's the only real complaint to have about this campaign. I've been having a ton of fun, and it's a lot more polished than I was expecting. There's also a lot of things to just sort of find throughout the environment. Things sort of feel organic, which is a problem that other open world games have that I just don't feel with Halo Infinite. For example, I may be exploring and then suddenly something like this happens.
Death comes for you!
Holy... I want out of there. This makes me second guess if things are around me at any given moment. If I see something off in the distance, the enemies may attack me or may be alone or there may just be some secret new weapon to find. I don't know what's there. There's also, of course, Easter eggs you can come across. I found this Craig one pretty early on. I found this one next to some hunters which have been suitably buffed and are pretty damn tanky. Suffice to say, I really like Halo Infinite's campaign. I was excited for it, and it somehow surpassed the expectations that I had, which were already really high. If you are a casual player, if you just want the campaign, that's all you care about, I would definitely tell you it's worth your money. This is where I would usually talk about Halo Infinite's multiplayer, but I made this video on launch of Halo Infinite, and a lot of that information is outdated. It really was just me saying the core gameplay of Infinite's multiplayer was quite fun, but there were a lot of issues that needed to be addressed. Some were addressed, some weren't. But most of it's invalid, so I'm just cutting this part out and telling you how I feel about Halo Infinite now. My opinions on the campaign still stand true. I do find the campaign quite fun. The multiplayer, though, I'm not really much of a fan. The combination of a lack of content for a long while, really strict skill-based matchmaking, and in my opinion, obnoxious movement just made me not enjoy it. What do I mean about obnoxious movement? Well, the strafing is way too damn fast. In previous Halo games, you would slow your momentum down and then speed back up. there was visual indication of the person's strafe. In Infinite, this is not the case. You can just AD spam and get away with it. It makes gunfights really frustrating when you're losing and feel really cheesy when you're winning. Infinite's multiplayer had a lot of promise, but it was really squandered. If I had to place it on a ranking system of my favorite Halo multiplayers, it'd be second to last, only behind Halo 4. Even then, I would rather play Halo 4 SWAT or Big Team Battle. And yes, I like even Halo Reach's multiplayer more than this game. It's super unfortunate, but I have one more good Halo game to leave you off with. Okay, hold on. I have to take a step back here. We are fighting a Halo 3 Scarab on a Halo 4 level during the events of Halo Combat Evolved. Hey, Jarek here, and I'm at the Clackamas Town Center in a suburb of Portland, Oregon. You may wonder why I'm out here in the suburbs. Okay, well, Happy Valley is more an extension of Southeast Portland, but that's because I'm going to Dave & Buster's. At this point, you're probably asking, but Jarek, you live in Portland. There are so many good bar arcades to go to. You could go to Quarter World and then explore Hawthorne afterward. You could go to Wonderland, which is built in an old theater. Or you could go to one of the more well-known arcades on the entire West Coast, Ground Control, taking up near a city block in downtown. Why would you go to Dave & Buster's? Well, that's because they have a Halo game that breaks my mind, with a complete mix of different Halo assets from different Halo games. Let's take a look at a screenshot from one of their own trailers. Clearly we're seeing Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary assets in the level, with possibly Halo Reach models. It's hard to tell. Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary used Reach's textures and re-rigged them to the original CE models, so it could be one of the two. And Halo 3's assault rifle model, but with a 60-round mag. This is very tame for this game. But okay, I'm getting really far ahead of myself. What is this? Well, this is an arcade cabinet almost exclusive to Dave & Buster's. I've seen it laying around in malls elsewhere occasionally, but it's very rare to find it elsewhere. When I first saw this cabinet, I was really surprised. I didn't know it existed, for one, and two, it's really high quality. It is very well built, with lit up Halo rings surrounding the entire cabinet, 2 vibrant screens, loud bassy audio, soft seats that feel almost like car seats, and a very responsive light gun. This light gun only has 3 buttons: shoot, throw grenade, and reload. Reloading actually plays an animation on screen, by the way. It doesn't just dip the gun out of frame and come back loaded. This light gun also allows you to shoot the second screen, which is pretty neat. This game is intended for co-op with up to 4 different people. Most people have their days off on the weekend, but I didn't want to go to Dave & Buster's on the weekend and try to record something when it would be very crowded. So instead I went on a Monday when Dave & Buster's was fairly dead, and thankfully one of my friends just so happens to have Monday and Tuesday off.
Hey Kai, say hi. Bonjour. I didn't say be French.
If you're only playing with 1, 2, or 3, the empty slots will be filled up with AI, which is actually useful. Now, I recorded this cabinet with 2 different cameras and a microphone. I have my GoPro on my head, my regular camera sitting down on a tripod beside me, and a lav mic on my chest to try to pick up the best audio I could get. Unfortunately, I'm not going to use much of this audio, for 2 reasons. The first one is that a lot of this audio has music that is in YouTube's Content ID system. For example, 117 from Halo 4. Awesome song, but it'll immediately get picked up. The second one is that since this is loud, bassy audio, it doesn't exactly get picked up great on even a lav mic. And also, the light gun has pretty heavy vibration, so this is what you would be hearing most of the time. So yeah, we'll just get to listen to Halo music while this is playing in the background. If you're really curious about this game and want to see more, I've uploaded a full long play with both camera angles to my second channel. I'll link that in the top right. Also, if you just want to see me goofing around in video games, no serious content, that channel is kind of just a Let's Play channel. It's where I go to dump non-serious footage.
Stop! Yellow player, shoot! Nice job. Red player, shoot! No! No!
I quit! Anyway, Halo Fireteam Raven. Let's go by this level by level. You play as, surprise, Fireteam Raven, ODSTs. But what blew my mind about this game, aside from the amalgamation of assets from everything, was the fact that the story takes place throughout the events of just Halo Combat Evolved. On the first level, you're defending the Pillar of Autumn, and it mostly uses Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary assets. You start with the base assault rifle, which is fitting for an ODST. This thing feels pretty good, and it does exactly what you would expect. Fighting elites and grunts seem to have roughly the same amount of health they would have in regular Halo games. Eventually, you'll even get to use turrets to see the space battle happening outside of the Pillar of Autumn while all of this is going on. And that's actually kind of awesome, because you never got to see that in Combat Evolved, at least not much. You'll soon replace your assault rifle with the plasma pistol, which I think this is the Halo 2 Anniversary campaign model. I'm not sure, someone correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, this thing basically just functions like a pistol. It doesn't really function like a plasma pistol. You can't charge it, and the reload button just plays the overheating animation, but it doesn't actually overheat. You just need to reload it like any other gun. Kind of disappointing, to be honest, and definitely a downgrade over the assault rifle. And hey look, there's even a cameo from Chief himself. That is the cutscene that plays at the end of the first level of Halo Combat Evolved. That's some fan service and I'm here for it. That's just so cool. And damn, you already get a shotgun. I think it's using the Halo 2 Anniversary shotgun model. Again, not sure, someone correct me if I'm wrong. At first I thought this shotgun sucked because it didn't seem to do much damage, and then I realized it's slam fire. You can just hold the trigger down, and in a video game sense, it's practically fully automatic. Yeah, this thing is nuts, and the level ends by you getting into drop pods and dropping down onto the Halo ring. It's a great introduction. You get a variety of weapons, get some space combat, get to see a variety of enemy types, and Raven Squad also keeps track of your score to determine who is the winner at the end of every level.
Let's win this mission.
They kill better.
Level 2, Rubble. Are those Halo 4 assets? Maybe Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer assets? I don't know. Anyway, Raven Squad's goal here is to prevent the Covenant from reaching the crashed Pillar of Autumn. You'll be on the back of a Warthog fighting the Covenant on foot, ghosts, banshees, and even wraiths for the first time. But of course, your Warthog gets flipped, who could have ever seen that coming, and you go on foot. This level will also give you a rocket launcher, and it has infinite ammo, and you never have to reload it.
Remember the most realistic rocket launcher ever? Okay. Who needs a reload? More like Ford.
You repel the attack, move on. Alpha Base. The whole concept of this level is that you're interrupted during a meeting and you need to repel the Covenant. That's it. It's just that. Again, I think it's using Halo 4 assets for the level. And hey, you get to fight buggers. These are probably the hardest things to actually shoot, but really nothing in this game is that hard to shoot. Nor does it feel very unfair. You also get a plasma rifle for the first time, which functions kind of in the same way as the plasma pistol. It doesn't have an overheat mechanic. It doesn't really function like you would expect it to as a plasma rifle. It pretty much just functions like an assault rifle, except for when you reload it, it does an overheat animation. It will never cool down, you will always have to reload it. So basically it functions like a regular gun. A little disappointing, but it's still the plasma rifle. And hey, hunters show up. This is the first mini-boss in the game. To prevent damage, a health bar will pop up above their head as they're charging their fuel rod cannon. Very basic concept, but it works. This is also the first time you get to use a shade turret, which is for some reason way better than in the actual games and much better than the Warthog turret. The section was actually a lot of fun. They give you tons of different cinematic angles to have firefights. Yeah, real smart of the Covenant, try to drop your troops right in front of a turret. But then the level is interrupted by them saying, "You're needed elsewhere on the ring. There's a Falcon inbound to take you there." Like, you don't even repel the Covenant, you just leave. And in the process of leaving, you get a Needler for the first time. It doesn't quite home onto targets as well as the games, nor have quite the explosive super combined visual effects, but otherwise works as you would expect. A little weird that they'd have you fight a hunter with a Needler though. Level 4. Ice Canyon. This level starts with Raven Squad saying, "The Covenant let something dangerous loose on the ring." We all know what that is, the Flood. And it makes sense as to why you suddenly get pulled out of the last level and thrown into completely unknown things. As for the level itself, it is using Halo Combat Evolved Anniversaries assets from Assault in the Control Room and 2 Betrayals. And yeah, you finally get to fight the Flood. The introduction to the Flood is on the Falcon you flew in on. But of course, it gets taken down. Who could have seen that coming? But hey, you get the pistol! which uses the Halo Reach M6G model instead of Comet Evolve's M6D model. In theory, it could make sense that an ODST would have this. You did just come from Reach to the Pillar of Autumn, but in Comet Evolved, you only ever saw the M6D model, so that's a little weird that they would do this. I mean, they're already using Halo Comet Evolved Anniversaries assets everywhere, so I would figure they'd just use that. Anyway, it kind of doesn't really matter because it's kind of disappointing.
Okay, this thing actually kind of sucks out.
This is not the hand cannon we know. It is pretty weak and really not that good. But hey, Chief is back.
Oh shit.
And that was his second and last cameo in the game. Okay, so if you know me, you know I hate Flood gameplay-wise. I find them incredibly dull compared to the Covenant, and their cool lore doesn't make up for the fact that they just play like space zombies. However, in this game, they're quite fun. Using numbers to overwhelm the player is a legit method of increasing tension in an on-a-rail shooter, so it works well. And you also get all of the different flood types from Halo 3 during the events of Halo CE, which is wild. And of course, this level ends with you bailing out, the flood being too much to overcome, which, yeah, they're the flood. Level 5. Raven Down. Raven Down starts with you crashing onto Halo Reach's Forge world. I mean, those are definitely Forge assets at the very least. The whole point of this level was just surviving until the Pelican picks you up. Not really a whole lot to say about this level. You're fighting the enemies you've already seen combined with the Flood, all while using guns you've already seen so far. A new mini-boss does pop up in the form of Juggernauts. This is really cool because Juggernauts were only found in unused files of Halo 2. They never made their way into any Halo game until Fireteam Raven. They play more or less the same as the Hunter mini-boss, but with more health and they just smack you instead. It's a solid level through and through, resulting in you finally escaping on a Pelican. And level 6, the final level, Last Stand, is exactly that. Raven Squad gets the news that Master Chief intends to blow up the ring, killing everyone and everything with it. As Raven Squad puts it, this is a one-way mission. I'm not really sure when they would have gotten this news. I'm pretty sure Chief was acting on his own and not really communicating with anyone else, or no one else is left as far as they knew at that point. Regardless, Raven Squad's task is to defend Chief, who is in the same Banshee you see him crash at the beginning of the Maw. You need to take down a Scarab so that it both doesn't shoot down Chief and doesn't make it to the Pillar of Autumn. Okay, hold on. I have to take a step back here. We are fighting a Halo 3 Scarab on a Halo 4 level during the events of Halo Combat Evolved. Man, this game breaks my mind. Anyway, this is the most chaotic level of them all, the climax of the entire game, throwing everything it has at you, ultimately fighting on said Scarab before taking it down. At this point, Raven Squad nobly accepts death as they've completed their mission. This is kind of just a retread of Halo Reach's Lone Wolf, but you know what? I'm okay with that, it still works. A really cool attention to detail is that the glowing rings that go all the way around the cabinet turn off when the ring explodes in-game. And that's just neat. All in all, this game will take about 45 minutes to complete its story, and roughly should eat up just shy of about $20 worth of tokens. By arcade standards, that's not terrible. By realistic standards, that's quite a bit of money to dump into one cabinet for a single playthrough. Is it worth it? Well, I think for your first time playthrough, it's definitely worth it for the novelty. After that, I would probably only use 1 or 2 tokens and that would be it. I still love that this exists just because it's such a neat project. I've seen multiple people classify Raven Squad as a failure, and I don't understand. I'm sure there was money behind the scenes between Microsoft and Dave & Buster's. I mean, it is supposed to be an exclusive to their arcades. So of course, less people got a chance to play it. There are arcade cabinets only at Dave & Buster's for the most part. And from my experience, they're actually a lot of fun. The best way I could describe this game is that Fireteam Raven feels like what it would be if you could play Halo Reach's cutscenes. My takeaway, however, is something entirely different. The thing it made me ask was, why isn't Microsoft getting more into VR? I know this seems totally random, but my mind connects a light railgun arcade game to full-on VR. And the reason I'm mainly confused by this is because Microsoft has already dumped a bunch of time and money into VR. My first VR headset was a Samsung Odyssey Plus. That sort of technology could be sold for about $200 and did sell for less than that on sale. Microsoft is the only company right now that is currently in position to profit off of VR reasonably. Imagine if Microsoft made a AAA Halo VR game, put it on Xbox and PC VR, and made those headsets work with Xbox. You are now putting games on the Xbox, PC VR, and competing with PS VR at a much more reasonable price range. Why Microsoft doesn't do this? I have no idea. Part of me is saying this just because I really like VR and I want more VR games and I want more people to get into VR, but most of me is saying this because it just seems so obvious. For most companies, they don't get into VR because there's just not enough money in it. But Microsoft is in a very unique situation where there is money to be had there. Anyway, side tangent over. Back to Raven Squad. Really cool cabinet. If you're near any Dave & Buster's, I would highly recommend trying it out. This video is quite a bit different, so I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I don't usually make videos at arcades. Huge thanks to my YouTube members. These guys get to see my videos at least 1 week ahead of time and get weekly shoutouts. And of course, big thanks to everyone that joins me over on Twitch. Hanging out is pretty fun. Click the link in the bottom right if you guys want to follow me over there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, my tag is in the bottom left. It's Jarek_Dragon. Thank all of you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.